get those tunes every once in a while, you know? Ah, they hit the spot. It's like foot tapping music, a little bit of snapping music. How y'all doing today? Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Hello. Hey, it's me. What's up, guys? Welcome to Monday. Monday. That means a lot of talk and not much gameplay. But honestly, I think people like that more sometimes. So, thought we'd take a few hours today. We're starting a little early. We're going to start to shift our stream time a bit. I keep on cutting these streams too short. I'm sure you've noticed. I don't like it. I love my dinner. I love time with Mrs. T. We get to have a nice little evening together. But I just don't feel like we're getting enough time together, you know? So we're going to start shifting our streams a little bit earlier in the day. Probably 30 minutes prior to this, and go for a little bit longer, 3 to 4 hours instead of the normal 2 to 3. And we'll start doing that this week. So welcome all early birds if you got to go in and check it out today. If you haven't, and you're seeing this after the fact, join us tomorrow. But yeah, gonna start doing things a little bit earlier. And we're starting today with a look at Squadron 42. We've been hearing a little bit more about it, whispers and murmurs, mainly due to it being removed from the pledge store, and also the fact that everybody kind of needs to see this game at some point. We've been waiting a long time for this game. We're gonna start from the beginning. I have here the actual Kickstarter, the very first page that they ever made for Star Citizen backing. Only had 34,000 people there before they ended up moving it to their own website. But we're gonna go from here, look at all of the different trailers and advertisements they released. This one can go at the end here. All the different trailers, advertisements that they have released and shown off, including Mark Hamill himself, and just see what they've said about this game over the last 10 years. Get a good idea of what it's actually going to be, how it ended up being like this, and maybe by the end of this stream, some of you will have had your minds changed. Maybe you are less into it or more into it. I don't know, but I wanted to host this as a way to just kind of group all that information in one place, because Squadron 42, you go and you do a Google search on it, you're going to get a lot of different hits. So we're congregating. But before we get started, hello to everybody. If you don't like hellos, you can skip this video. Skip, I don't know, a couple minutes, whatever. Memory, though, I see you. Number one, first one up. What's up, man? Often, Shifty, good to see you. 07. Unloading whales. We always need some kind of whale in chat. Testastic. Testatastic. Testatastic. 07s, dude. Punji. Bringing the garden squeeze, busting out the juice, showing the toes. Got something special there with the toes. Morningstar, good morning. Coffee time. Travis, welcome. Sir William, MGL. You were second. I'll call that second. I'm not sure if what Punji said counts as first, but we'll give it to you and go second. Cotton, what's up, man? Over here, Twitch mod holding it down on that side. Thank you for that. Extreme Terror, good to see you. Finally, some good news. Squadron 42. I mean, I'm not gonna say if it's good or bad. It's definitely gonna be news for some people. Waterpark, good morning. Delias, Theopolis, Hexagon, Whiskey, Sam Citizen. Caught us live. Thanks for joining us. I hope it lives up to the hype, you know? Pix and Rush. Welcome. Hello. Tide 07. Soul Scorn. Tikapo Jones. I like that one. Happy Juneteenth. Brofist, thank you for that. I appreciate that. We're actually gonna have a really nice little celebration here after the stream. We're gonna do a full spread. You know, all the foods, collard greens, fried chickens, hush puppies, the goods, some peas and rice, and we're gonna be watching some historical films. Doing a little bit of learning on our own end. Finally got your PC moved and set up at the new place. What kind of PC you get? What'd you put in there? Still don't know what Juneteenth is. Juneteenth was is it the last? I believe it was the last date of emancipation in Texas. I want to say it's a final day that the Emancipation Proclamation took effect in Texas and abolished slavery there. At least, you know, in the sense that it was slavery at that time. Username. What's up, man? Good morning. Erski, welcome. Ooh, cornbread and deviled eggs. Good call. Good call. Honestly, we're doing what we can with the ingredients we have here, you know? Not exactly the same grocery store selection in Turkey as you would find in, like, Georgia. But yeah, the menu's looking good. Mrs. Tomato is an amazing cook, so I'm looking forward to it. It's your birthday today. Happy birthday. If you're on the Discord, let a mod know. We have a special role for the birthday folks. One time you had collard greens. It was amazing. Collard greens are great. They're really good. I hated them as a kid because they were green. And I was like, gross. But I learned to like them. Just got done watching the video on 320. The monthly report. Maybe I should change the title of that. I didn't mean for it to actually seem like a video about 320. More so just stuff that's going to be in 320. You're in Atlanta? Nice, nice. That's likely where we'll be headed at some point in the next several years. Gotta head out for a bit often. I'll catch you later. Just had a job interview, 3rd round, and it was with the chief commercial officer of your company. Whoa! Drazen, my man, moving up. This dude is gonna own all the plastic south of Colorado. I don't know, man. I don't know. But good for you, dude. I'm glad you nailed your interview. I love getting a good interview. It just feels good, you know? True purpose is to remind people that we were oppressed. I don't play that game. Ain't nobody keeping me down. I think it's more to celebrate that we are no longer oppressed. It's kind of like Turkey celebrates a day when the people were able to break free from the Ottoman Empire. They're not really celebrating the Ottoman Empire. They're celebrating getting away from the Ottoman Empire. Oh, I'm not from Georgia. We're looking to maybe go there at some point. I'm from California. What are we doing today, Sky High? We are looking at Squadron 42. The history of the marketing, essentially, since the game's not out yet. We're going to go over all the information they've released about it, trailers, announcements, things like that, and just kind of get a sense of what the 10 years since this reveal has brought us, now that we are kind of talking about a possibly last phase of development. We don't know entirely, but from the recent monthly reports and just looking at their sort of trends over the last year and a half or so, it is looking like things are starting to reach some form of a last road. I know. You don't have to believe it. Don't take my word for it. I'm just saying what I'm reading. For all we know, it could be another 10 years. Who knows? But, you know, if you're going to take their word by the monthly reports at the very least, then something is going on. And if it's not, then they're going to be in a lot of trouble. It's still your old rig you got caught and just got it set up and running at your new place. Okay, cool. It's good to hear. Something is different about these from other streamers. Well, thanks for hanging out, Memory. Appreciate you. You know what's different? It's the chat. Chat's hot here. You guys are pretty cool. But I want to switch up this music. This is a little bit too... It's a little too much for me. Just give me something like... Yeah, there we go. Let's not get too much hopium in the lungs. Indeed. Don't want to get that space cancer. Don't be like that. Squadron 42 is close. I'm putting myself in a neutral place. Squadron might be close. It might be far. I'm not going to say one way or another. You don't hear music. Is it that quiet? You guys can't hear that? That's funny. Know it's been on your mind every time? What has that been? You guys can't hear the music? It's plenty loud for you. It was a bit quiet. Okay. Just want to make sure it's at the right level. This is just the music I download for my videos from a royalty-free site Artlist. So to start off, the Kickstarter started back in 2000. I think it was 2012, right? I want to say the initial date was 2012 in like November-ish, October. Does anybody know the exact date? Was anybody around at this time? Anybody in chat got in on this back to the game while it was still on Kickstarter? Because this is how it all started. They actually started on Kickstarter. Kind of like a lot of other crowdfunding games. They had the whole thing here. And it actually, if you look at it, they had Star Citizen here. And they listed the persistent universe as well as the single player. So there's a lot of debate as to whether or not Star Citizen or Squadron 42 came first. And a lot of people do feel like Squadron came later and kind of overshadowed Star Citizen and has been taking the money. They were both basically launched at the same time. Like they were both proposed around the same time, maybe a week separate. But overall they were pretty intertwined. And going through this page, you'll see a lot of different things that like, I love this one. Digital download pack, 42-page book of the making of Star Citizen. Y'all think they could fit it into 42 pages? Just like 2-size font. Really, really big pages, like those massive picture book pages that you used to get when you were a kid, like the Where's Waldo books. But it'd be, I don't know how you can pull that off. They're gonna have to extend that past 42, maybe 4,200 pages now. All right, this music is getting just far too exciting for me. Man, why do I have so much exciting music on here? Give me some lo-fi. Like 420 pages, it might be. But like you see a lot of names that we recognize here. So like the Aurora, the 300i, the Hornet, the Freelancer, the Connie, those are like the first ships that ever came to the game. 300i was the one that brought me in. But then you can also see that they had some of the bigger ones. The M50, it's not a bigger one, but you know what I mean. Starfarer, Caterpillar, Retaliator, and the Idris. These were like the original launches. And then obviously Squadron 42 was linked in here everywhere. It was just completely part of this. So the original pitch here is for Star Citizen. Let's see. Do they have a separate one for Squadron? What are those drips? Wow, this just was really long. So they do focus a lot on Star Citizen in this. MGL, nobody's praying. Yeah, they didn't even have a separate section for Squadron, so they really did focus a lot more on Star Citizen here. And you could see they said it brings the visceral action of piloting interstellar craft through combat and exploration to a new generation of gamers. It's actually mostly the same generation, let's be honest. It's a complete universe where any number of adventures can take place. Pick up jobs as a smuggler, pirate, merchant, bounty hunter, or enlist as a pilot, protecting the borders from outside threats. Chris Roberts has always wanted to create one cohesive universe that encompasses everything that made Wing Commander and Privateer special. A huge sandbox with a complex and deep lore allowing players to explore or play in whatever capacity they wish. So they were kind of focusing on Star Citizen. Wasn't Star Citizen and Squadron kind of the same game? The pitch made it seem like that. Yeah. You can see here, they put single player, offline or online, drop-in co-op, which was Squadron based, and then the persistent universe, which we know as Star Citizen now. And then you can see down here, actually, I think somewhere in here, yeah, so I don't, it's confusing the way that it happened. Oh. I was home alone for a bit. Mrs. Teachers got home. So that's kind of how it all started. Kickstarter, 2012, ended in 2013. They raised $2 million, and then they were like, hey, let's move this over to our website. There seems to be a lot of money coming in. Why are we giving it all to Kickstarter? So with that launch, they released with this first trailer. Now, I think this is going to be kind of interesting because you will find a lot of people saying that like Star Citizen's graphics are going to be out of date. They're not really going to be able to do anything to make it look better. It's going to take too long to launch. And you start to see how the graphics used to look in this game, even as recently as like 2017, and see how they are now. And you can tell that they are still increasingly getting better as the game develops. So here was the original launch trailer, which if you haven't seen, it's going to be... The thing about this is like, this isn't even, this isn't, what they show us now is actually in the game running, right? When they show us Squadron 42, they're showing us real game. This probably isn't actually in the game, is it? I wouldn't know. I don't have that good of insight into this stuff, but I feel like this is probably all just like made for the trailer rather than the game running and doing this stuff. Not as cringe as the Kickstarter video. The one where he's sitting in the Hornet. Love that one. Classic Chris. Yeah, just in engine. Half and half, right. Delias. I think it's Delias. Delias, Gianluca, and Chase McCoy. Thank you all for the subs. Appreciate you guys. Right, not in game, in engine. Niku, how you doing? Where's Luke Skywalker? You'll see him. We'll get to that. Yeah, the speed's very slow. They're like floating past. Looks like they're floating past the Bengal decoupled. Hey, no problem, Charles. Okay. So that was 5 minutes of just spaceships flying around. And if that doesn't tell you that this be a kind of a different type of game than Starfield, because this is the game that gets compared to Starfield more than Star Citizen. It's different. It's going for a different kind of vibe. This is very much a sort of on the rails military spaceship shooter with a lot of extra gameplay thrown in, as opposed to a open world, open interaction, character based RPG. So I do think that there's some crossover because they both take place in space. But as we keep looking into how this game works and how they market it, you will notice that there is some divergence there. The visual teaser still your favorite, the one from 2019? Let me see if I can actually pull up that other one. The one with Chris's Kickstarter video. Because that is, it's a classic. You gotta get that. Everybody's gotta know that one. Can't be a Star Citizen bagger without it. But where would that be? That's gonna be way back. YouTube took away the ability to look at videos oldest to... Oh! They brought it back. Look at that. Okay, cool. Is this the one you're talking about? Or is it the one in the office?
The jump points discovered.
No. That's a very long video. You're talking about this one. All right. The 2019 teaser. Yeah, some cool stuff there. What are my thoughts on Bethesda's game Starfield, which will be taking a massive player count from SC? Only diehards of SC will stay, and the smack talk will begin. I think the game's going to be great. I don't think it's going to take massive player counts from Star Citizen. I don't think only diehard Star Citizen players will stay. And I think there will be smack talk. Before they changed engines, it was very polished and had the finished look. They never changed engines. They're still working on Crytek engine. It's a concept video, gets the job done indeed. Don't bring the cringe. We're bringing the cringe, baby. You want the Hornet one? I thought that was the immersion one? That's like the beginning of this video. It's not the... We can watch that, I guess. All right. They went from CryEngine to Lumberyard, but that was literally just putting a different name on it. It was the same game engine still. It was just like... Lumberyard is CryEngine. Star Engine is Lumberyard is CryEngine. That's why sometimes when you're loading into the game or doing something in Star Citizen, you'll still see Crytek or CryEngine assets being loaded in or loaded out. It's all just legacy code. Lumberyard still exists. It's just been open sourced by Amazon, so they don't need to use the name if they don't want to. Yeah, it's a fork. All right. Young Chris. Hars23, thank you for the sub. Appreciate you. It's so exciting! Bring on young Chris. Let's go. Fighter pilot Chris. We will do this for a couple minutes and then we'll move on.
Hi, I'm Chris Roberts. Ever since I saw Star Wars as a wide-eyed 8-year-old, I dreamt of being a hotshot pilot saving the galaxy or a lovable rogue making my way across the cosmos. It inspired me to make Wing Commander and has influenced everything I've done since then. 10 years ago, after 20 years of making games, I was burned out, so I took a break. But I never stopped playing games nor loving them. And now, I'm ready to come back, and I'd like to show you something I've been working on. But I don't want to build any old game. I want to build a universe. I want to build a game I always wanted to build, but I didn't have the tools to do until now. One that you can fly off a carrier fighting a heroic war on the front lines, but also one that you can muster out and find your own fortune in the stars wherever you're...
Why doesn't Chris do this kind of stuff anymore? It's a different world now. I think you could say.
I want to be able to share this experience.
He looks so much more
with my
stress-free.
friends and fight against real opponents.
He hadn't started trying to make it yet.
And I want this to be as good or better than any other game out there. And I want to actively push the boundaries of what you can do in a game.
The Chris
None of
hands.
this would have been even possible 2 years
I
ago.
love the Chris
But
hands.
with Moore's Law driving PC
This dude is
performance
churning
across
butter.
the gaming community, embracing talented
He's like,
developers via crowdfunding, I
making
believe
a
it is
product.
possible. I've never been accused of having a small vision. And so I thought it was best if I share my ambition with you visually. I'm pretty excited by how it's joined out. So why don't you come join me for a sneak peek?
All right. So that was kind of like the introduction to it, and then he went on to explain essentially Star Citizen, but we're here for Squadron. So let's move on. Next, we had this. This was kind of, oh man, honestly, what happened in between here? I don't actually have much for you guys from 2014. We just kind of go from 2013 to 2015. And I wasn't really paying that much attention then, so I can't tell you too much about it. But from there, we kind of started marketing. They were bringing in bigger names. They were trying to build the game, but around this time, they were also learning about their planet tech, the ability to build these planets in the game, and that kind of screwed up their scale. But we just don't know what happened with Squadron, honestly. Again, I wasn't paying too much attention at this time, so I can't comment too much on what they did or did not say, or whether it was or was not delivered. But this was definitely past that date that they initially wanted to do Squadron, which, looking at Kickstarter projects, it seems like that happened commonly. But let's watch this little marketing piece they did, because this was a big one. This got people hyped.
Ladies and gentlemen, this emergency session is called to order. Admiral Bishop, you have the floor.
For 200 years, we have battled the Vandal. We have caught these attacks.
They made Gary Oldman sound like he was like twice his age, which he's already not particularly young dude, but clear your throat, man.
Raids, or skirmishes, or incursions.
He's war-stricken.
I am here to tell you that we are at war. Tiber, Orion, Caliban, Virgil, once human systems all but abandoned in the face of the enemy. The Vandal are at our gates. Weapons bared while we hide and cower. Retreating as they burn and decimate everything around us.
Yeah, it's Gary Oldman.
Let the tragedy of Vega happen again. We cannot give the Vandal any more ground. To defend this empire, we must attack. And we have to be committed to that attack, whatever the cost may be. We have to rebuild our fleet. We have to
Give me that camera. That's what I want in game. I want that camera. Screw the third person thing. Give me a drone with a camera on it and let me go. Let me fly.
The power of human innovation to reclaim these so-called red systems and strike back at the enemy. This will not be an easy fight. It will cost us resources and credits and lives.
But most importantly, the credits.
Well, some of you may be asking why undertake such a thing, and I can tell you in one word. Victory! For if there's one thing the Vandal has taught us, it's that without victory, there can be no survival!
Okay, but like, what ships do we fly, dude? He's saying this freaking speech and we didn't have any ships to take to battle at the time. Come on, Gary. Come on. And then they go through the cast, and you're like, oh, that's where the budget went. Let's see. Who is here today? Of course, Gary Oldman, classic, legend. Mark Hamill. There's your Luke Skywalker. Mark Strong. Always got to have another Mark. John Rhys Davies, of course, bringing him back from Wing Commander. Or was that Freelancer? Wing Commander. I don't actually know who Jack Houston is. Ben Mendelsohn, though. I love that guy. Good guy. Andy Serkis. Very yelly and animated. Good. I don't know who Harry Treadaway is. Liam Cunningham. Gotta get the Onion Knight. Game of Thrones. Verona Mitra. I know the face, not the name. Ian Duncan. Don't know him. Sophie Wu. Believe she helped with, was Sophie Wu the voice of Tessa Bannister? Uh-oh, he's coming. Gemma Welland, I don't know who that is. Craig Fairbrass and X-Files lady. Half-faced guy in Boardwalk Empire. Answer the call! Legendary sign. This was the most painful thing they ever did. By the way, somebody said show gameplay. I'm going through the years, so we'll get there. We'll get to gameplay. This is painful. See, this was when they initially started to announce their 2016 plans for Squadron. And this is also what ended up leading to people continuously saying that Star Citizen, Kara Webster, right? Right. She's the engineer in the Idris. This was how people started to think Star Citizen was getting delayed, because the Squadron 42 date was the only date that they gave, and Star Citizen was the only game that people knew about, so the news companies would associate the Squadron 42 date with the Star Citizen release to combine the two, and that, of course, ended up leading to Star Citizen delay memes, but really it's Squadron that gets delayed. I mean, Star Citizen also gets feature delays, but they never actually put a date on it, so I don't know how to handle that, but Squadron 42 is the one that had the set-in-stone release date, like 4 or 5 different years. It continuously got pushed back, and it was a pain. This was around the time when I started to get into Star Citizen. I had backed it 2 years prior, kind of put it away for a while, finished college, graduated, started my first job, and in 2016 I started to pay attention again. So I got in right when things were absolutely terrible. Watch the original AC tutorial. And there he is. Hold on, I gotta close the window. Oh, he's just excited for Squadron, you know. We hear vocals from your mom in the back. Yeah, that's... Funny enough, you're supposed to be in range of one of them, but we're in range of like 3. It's like... I hear the one across the neighborhood, I hear the one across the river, and then I hear the one that's right outside our window. So, that is the Bishop speech. Now we've got... This was kind of the next major thing. They basically missed their release date in 2016. And it was bad. That was bad. 2016 was very bad. If Squadron 42 is like 100 hours of gameplay, then we're definitely getting something quite comprehensive story-wise. Oof, 100 hours is a lot to do. I would prefer higher quality, lower quantity, if anything. I hope they give us just something solid, 50 hours, 50 to 60 hours maybe. It's good enough for me. Honestly, it could be less than that. Halo, like my favorite campaign is like Halo CE. That was like 12 hours long. Squadron 42 has been remade like 4 times. It's definitely gone through quite a few iterations. Henry Cavill is in this game, yeah. Everything else aside, they did a stellar job of creating a speech that stirs something every time. It's a good speech. The music's great. Gary Oldman's good. Animation's nice. Love those little drone cameras. Praying for Squadron 42. Exactly. We gotta, every day, we need to come out and say... we need to come out and say that Squadron needs to come, please. We're praying. We're asking. We're yelling for it. It's painful that 2016 is 7 years ago. Indeed. So this will be... let me put it up to you guys, actually. Let's do a quick poll here before we move forward. I want to know if you guys want to see this with the developer commentary or without the developer commentary. Squadron 42 gameplay... Oops. Dang, I can't spell. With or without commentary. Don't worry, I'm going to put up a poll for you guys. With or without. And we will run this for just a couple of minutes. I'll take whoever is most active in here. Go ahead and let me know, guys. Threw up a poll there on Twitch. YouTube, please let me know. We're going to piss somebody off either way. But if you guys want to hear what they have to say about these scenes, then you're going to have to deal with me and them talking. So it's your call. Squadron 42 is a single-player game they are working on. Yes, that is indeed it. What if it's 100 hours and amazing quality? Well, then I would say good job, guys. You took advantage of that time. They are remaking the flight model. That means all combat encounters. I wouldn't say they're remaking the flight model. I think they're just kind of adding on to it. Because they've already... Well, I guess they do have to change the control surfaces. But from what I understand, they already have the working model in Squadron. So the general idea is that everything that's going on for Squadron development is probably anywhere from 6 to 12 months ahead of us at this point. And if not further, since they don't have to deal with like networking complications and stuff. So I do think that what they are doing on their side for Squadron is probably not something we will see until closer to its release. You were told this stream would start at 2 p.m. UTC. We had our times a little bit off today because we're starting things a little earlier. You wonder what the actors think about delaying Squadron 42 again and again? Not gonna lie, they're probably used to delays. Maybe not this many or this much, but a lot of things in film get delayed too. Delays, reshoots, re-recordings, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so let's watch this gameplay. It looks like you folks want... Yeah, you're wanting the commentary. Okay. In that case, stitch this and pull it up with... I think it's Chris and Todd Pappy who are talking. And this will be... We'll pause and go over the things that we're seeing here, but I'll let it play out quite a bit for you guys so that you can watch. Why commentary? That's what people are voting on. 70% of people are asking for the commentary in the video. I just do what the people ask. From what you hear, they hate it because you get a good chunk of the time complain directly to them. Huh. Skyer, hello. The longer the delay, the longer before we get stabbed by the Vandu compensation pikes. Compensation. Well, they don't know about my entitlement. I'm going to process my entitlement all over their compensation pikes. They won't know what hit them. When you do a poll, you have to do the opposite. People don't know what they want or what's good for them. You all have clearly lost your minds. I'm going to do what you didn't ask for. Hey, no problem, Kelk. All right, let's jump into this. Let's see what they had for Squadron 42 back in 2017.
Hi, I'm Chris Roberts. I'm the project director of Squadron 42, and I'm sitting here with David Haddock, the lead writer.
Hello.
And also Sean Tracy, the director of global content, who's overseeing both Squadron and Star Citizen. And we're here to talk about the Vertical Slice, which we just premiered a little earlier today on the holiday live stream.
I feel like they really need to re-release this. It's my commentary. That'd be really funny. I feel like we should at least get like some snippet of this with the updated assets, updated gameplay and everything. That's the best way we can compare how this game has proceeded since then. Other than that, we don't really know what was even existing before.
So here we are, opening up in Odin's system, and we're sort of establishing the scene and catching us up on the story. Dave, do you want to?
Yeah. So basically, we're because we kind of jumped you and dropped in the middle of the story. We want to give you a little bit of context, just so you could kind of understand a bit of like what the conversations were happening, and what they were talking about and stuff like that. So
yeah. So we're sort of this is not at the very beginning of the game, but I would say it's sort of I don't know, like beginning of the second act maybe.
For those who don't know, they talk about the Van Duel a lot with Squadron 42, the big baddies, the aliens, scary guys, but like I think for a decent amount of the game, they're not actually the main guys. They end up becoming in later and being sort of the distraction from who you thought were the main bad guys.
yeah, I think so.
Or it's like, so you've already arrived on the Stanton. You've sort of bedded in. You've started to fly some missions. So the very first time you actually fly a mission is what we had with the IGN teaser, where Oldman says, "Who the hell are you?" Which is kind of fun because the whole game's about getting Mark Hamill or Oldman's approval, which is very cool. So here we are. We're waking up in the sort of sleeping quarters area of the Idris, and each of these cubicles, they've got their own little shutters so you can get asleep, and we are kind of waking up, and we're one of the things to think and remember about what we're going for Squadron, and ultimately we'll do the same for Star Citizen, is we want everything to be very tactile, to be very sort of...
See, y'all were complaining about bedsheet physics, okay? But what are you going to do when you wake up in bed
each of these,
and your boy doesn't have the bed sheets over his legs? Huh? Who are you calling? Who are you going to call? It's not going to be Ghostbusters. There's going to be a CIG dev who's doing bedsheet physics. Get with it.
Cubicles, they've got their own little shutters so you can get asleep, and we are...
Oh my lord, I'm sorry. I'm over here being so disrespectful to chat, and we get a lovely time of chaos raid. A chaos raid. It's a good name for a raid, guys, because chaos is... It's a lot. Welcome, everybody. How you guys doing? Good to see you. We're doing a little bit of Squadron 42 perusing. As you know, that could be good or bad. It's a little bit of both, as always. Thanks for dropping in, though. Chaos, I appreciate you. Doing some Star Citizen gameplay. What were you up to, man? Playing the game? Just looking at it, talking about it? Don't need bed sheets in the future. Perfect climate control. See, that's always a problem when the captain likes everything to be way too hot. Captain doesn't believe in air conditioning. What are you going to do? Well, I guess bed sheets wouldn't really help you there. Yeah, kind of out of luck. All good, mining, bounty hunting, and some random chaos with the crew. That's very fitting. I like that. I see what you did there. That's nice. Well, that sounds like fun, dude. I hope you made some good money. Hope you have some time to stick around and watch this wild explanation of Squadron 42 over the last 10 years and where it's been, where it's going. And thanks for bringing all your good folks with you. Sarah's Goldfish Brain, by the way, thank you for the sub. All right, let's get back into it.
Waking up, and we're one of the things to think and remember about what we're going for Squadron, and ultimately we'll do the same for Star Citizen, is we want everything to be very tactile, to be very sort of what you can wear or what you can carry is what you can do. So we don't want this sort of RPG infinite bag of holding. You can have all these items. So here we want you, if you're going to put on your BDUs from what you were sleeping in, you actually do it. You put on the flight suit later, the same thing. And here we are, and this is a more full version of the AI system that we've called Subsumption, that's running sort of the missions and the AI and the characters. You're seeing a lot more of their actions around here than say you would have seen maybe in what we've put in 3.0 in the PU.
Yeah, and actually it even made the captures challenging because of all these AI doing very different things every time. It's not perfectly deterministic, so he's not always at the microwave actually getting himself something to eat.
Yeah, no, definitely. We've had captures where we were having conversations and we were not close enough in the conversation, so the AI cut in front of us like photobombed, which was.
I kind of love this right here. That like how clearly this NPC snaps into the transition at the door, just kind of waiting, and then go. I think those are all like the little signs you can tell that this is very much just like put together. It's not the actual game running as they really want it to.
Have on the list of things to do to sort of have some AI tech that sort of knows that you're talking to someone and walks around the back of you instead of finds the shortest path between the two of you.
Chaos, I will be showing that
So
video.
yeah, so we've woken up. We've gotten our BDUs. We're just right now. The idea was to sort of show a little bit of the Idris. We're actually not showing all of it. It's pretty massive. There was sort of the Idris special that showed a bit more of it because there's the med bay and there's the cargo room that we didn't go in that we just walked past. There's a missile room. There's a hold down. There's a hangar for the Argo below and the gravity generator below. So it's pretty good.
Sir, if you're not too busy.
Okay, I have a question for you all. This part right here, the conversation, this is with the old inner thought system, but how do you feel about a conversation that works like this in any way, where you have to like mouse over a text selection to pick what you're saying? I want to hear your opinion on this.
And so here's the first example of our fluid cinematic conversation system. So I'm not sure we really move around here, but you can maybe see it in some of the other parts. We move around, his head will track us, he'll look at us. It's the quality of the characters is cinematic level quality, and there's no difference. So there aren't really any we don't have any pre-rendered cinematics, so we do occasionally we'll take the camera and play out a sequence, but you're actually still present. It's all running in the engine live.
Totally.
But that's why why Lars looks so good here.
I mean, the thing that always strikes me, even watching this now, it's interesting seeing the great animation of him talking, but it's actually the pauses in between it when he's listening to you, because it really seems like he's processing what you're saying, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, in fact, I think if you look at film or everything, it's almost like the reaction of someone tells you much more about what's going on rather than what people are saying. And with the fact that we did this full-on performance capture and facial capture.
Right. The main thing I'm thinking is just the freeform selection seems a little bit iffy, as opposed to having a keybind or using the arrow keys to select it.
That other conversation option, for example, he has a little smirk when you make a little bit of a joke on it. That's just it's really interesting.
Sure, and maybe to mention too, we've got a bit of as we walked into the bridge, we got a bit of stutter and these kind of things. So just to remind everyone that this is a live capture off of a gameplay build. We were not faking anything. Just because we were going to pre-record this didn't mean we were going to fake or fix time step or do anything that you.
Look at this guy. This dude he's messing with the power triangle. I bet you this is really... Look, he's messing with the shields too. You're on this capital ship and you're over here just screwing with the internal systems. Can you believe this guy?
You normally do in a game capture just to kind of make everything look perfect, right? Because this is the reality of exactly where this game is at this exact moment. But we just barely start to scratch the surface on optimization on this particular stuff. If you're playing the 3.0 pre, you know that we've been focusing on that.
Barely scratched the surface back then.
And I would say so that's a lot of reasons you'll see variable frame rate during the playback of the this portion of the mission that we're going through. We will, our goal is to, for a high-spec machine, run this at 60 frames a second, and low-spec to be at least 30 frames a second. This is actually pretty cool because we're on the Idris, which is it's basically a flying level, inside the coil, which is this volumetric cloud tech, flying around Shuben, Arkan Station. There's a Shuben.
She was definitely not looking at you.
Which is 8 kilometers in size. So just the sense of immersion and scale is pretty cool. And that was Cass Fallon, our comms officer.
Yeah.
That you have some theories about, Dave? Or
no, she's just straight professional. It's just says hello, but then gets back to her job.
And so here we are. We're going to head down now off the bridge. And so the bridge has access on both sides, stairs on both, and there's the elevator in the middle that we came up. We walked past, a Marine on guard. And
anybody know off the top of your head how big the Idris is? I'm trying to think of it compared to something like a Galaxy.
Part of the basic subsumption is what we call wild lines. So they'll see you, they'll say hello. I think I saw some memes or jokes on Reddit.
A lot of lieutenants.
Lieutenant.
They're very respectful.
But we actually have
Big.
We have a lot of variation of greetings
242,
and
okay.
different characters all have their own custom stuff. So
and also, ultimately, it'll be sort of reputation based too. So the better you're doing, the more people will acknowledge you.
Yeah, and if you're not, they're not, or they're curt with you. And so right there was actually Gunnar Haynes, which we didn't go and see. So he is part of this chapter that you go around, but we kind of felt like, this is already 1 hour and 6, and we're only doing a portion of what you can do. In fact, the mission we'll do later is sort of one of the optional missions you can do in this area of stuff. And so we sort of felt like 1 hour or so of gameplay was
we didn't need yet another conversation.
Yeah.
But if you're playing it, there's a lot more. So a lot of the characters that you see all talking and doing stuff, this is all systemically driven for a start. But there's a lot of backstory inside. You can whoever you want to talk to, find out what's going on with them, and really get to know the crew, which is what we're hoping. You'll get a real emotional attachment to the crew.
The amazing thing too is also
That's also another big difference between this and something like Starfield. You're basically spending the whole game on this one spaceship. I mean, there's a couple different capital ships you'll be on. You'll be doing like missions out in different areas, but this is your home base. You're always returning to this. You're not going out and finding a different ship, bringing it in and using it for your campaign. You're not going and exploring and finding resources and bringing it back to your capital ship. You're a pilot in the military. You go places, do missions, come back to the ship, meet people, eat some stuff, shoot some hoops. I don't know, whatever space people do, and then you go do more missions.
or if you don't, you can just move on to your next mission point. Like there's that again, like it's up to you.
If you want
like
to get invested, right?
Yeah, if you're the type who
and
likes
a good
to talk to
example, there was a couple engineers sitting outside the engine room, and if you stop, and I've stopped on my playthroughs and sat there and listened, they're talking about Morrow, how he's a genius for coming up with this, crazy thing, and then you come in and you see him here. So there's a lot of interchange between the characters, which is quite nice, and you can get right up close to all of them, and they'll all be holding up just like Lars was, just like everybody else was. We've brought what typically is like a hero level sort of character, and we've spread that out to a quantity that's
all of
just
them,
beyond
basically
everyone.
all the characters. And
so everybody's a hero. There's
I mean,
no background characters.
Yeah, Morrow, he's actually one of my funnest characters.
Yeah.
And here there's a little bit of tech, so where we're looking around, he can detect. We got this thing that we call spoil tech, and it can give signals to the AI based on where you're looking. Also, if you look at running around here and some of the AI, there's points of interest they go by, and they may glance at the point of interest, glance at you as they go by. So it helps break up the more robotic AI locomotion. And we're still early stages of that, so that's going to get a lot better. But we're really focused on trying to make the behavior and movement of the AI as good and natural as possible. So this, as far as we're concerned, is still got a long way to go. There's a lot of subtlety, because it's all about dialing in the subtlety. So we've moved. If you actually go back and look at the Morrow tour and look at this, it's totally night and day.
Yes.
See, that's what we need. How cool would it be to see the Morrow tour, and then this, and then whatever they've got now? Because I imagine it's better than what we were just seeing from that guy.
But we're going to go a lot further, because for us, the goal is to really sort of make what we call a sort of fluid cinematic experience. So it sort of feels like you're in a movie, and it has that sort of sense of drama and has that sense of detail and texture. But you're totally in control, and that was kind of what I was talking about. The cinematics, where you even though they're live and we take the camera control away, if you don't want to have that, you can just hit a key and it'll be back to your point of view, and you'll see the actions of the people doing from your point of view. So this would be an example of somewhere you could do this. Right here, we take over the camera cut.
There's Mendelsohn.
So this is all gameplay, and you could actually.
This is straight up. Not Sam Worthington. Jesus. What is his name? Sam. What is his name? I can't remember. But Mark Hamill, Ben Mendelsohn, and Sir Davos. I can't remember his actor's name.
The camera cut.
All in a room together in a video game.
This is all gameplay, and you could actually walk into the back of this shot if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Or you could just go back to your point of view. But we want to have. We've got these great actors, great performances.
Liam Cunningham, thank you.
You really need to sort of get up there to
Why do I
get
always
it.
forget
Yeah,
that?
to
I
take
think
in the performance.
in this playthrough we did, you sort of can see moment. I mean, there's a great conversation with Captain White afterwards, where you sort of, you get some texture about his son and maybe some sense of
There's a little
regret.
monologue, and it's
And there's a later one with some OMC's prisoners that come in that's really great. So yeah, having the ability to sort of take over the camera to get these close-ups to sort of give you a bit more up-close detail in the story is great, but you can also just cancel out and be just watching this from the point of view we were just seeing there before.
the performances of the actors. It's such a different thing to have, these AAA actors in game instead of a hand animated guy that was voiced by somebody in the development studio.
People say if the game ever comes out, it'll be great. And I hope that's true. I really do. Like, I can't help but worry about a game's quality no matter what, you know? And like, no matter how long it takes, I'm always worried that it's going to come out and just not hit what they were trying to do. I have confidence that Squadron 42 is going to be a good game. But is it going to be a great game? Is it going to be a game that's worth the hype that's going to build around it, that's worth the criticism it's going to get for taking this long? That's worth the budget that it's taken to make. It's hard. It could be a good game and still end up not fulfilling what it needs to do. But I do think that overall, as long as it's like above, I don't know, an 80% in ratings, that it's gonna make a difference. If this thing comes out and it's actually successful, it will make a difference for Star Citizen.
Do you know what I mean? It changes the game completely.
Well, yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, it's fun, and also, you know, we shot for over 100 days in London, over 15 in 2016, and got up and see. Now, if we stayed here and didn't do this, I do this on my.
Some people will always have their opinion of it, no matter what.
There's about 3 or 4 prompts, and we always had fun shooting them because the actors would have to, you know, basically it was like the player was like totally a troll when we shot it, because he had to be would you like a seat, and then there was like Oldman would say something, and then you know, Captain White would say something. So we have 3 or 4 of the encouragements that happen everywhere, but in the case of a fastest playthrough, we didn't do that, but I do it because I always think it's kind of fun.
So, and this scene, without mentioning the RTT tech, would be, you know, not complete. That is opened up so many different things.
Okay, he did mention there the RTT tech. This is something that they talk about a lot, but they never really say specifically what it's used for. Render to texture is actually something that they talked about in the last monthly report that they're optimizing for the game right now. Basically, what it is instead of creating this screen in the game here and just playing a video of this person doing this thing, somewhere else in the game, whether it be on this spaceship, in some other spaceship, on the ground, whatever, there is an NPC who's actually doing this. They're rendered in the game. If you went to that part of the spaceship, you'd be able to see them on their mobiGlas in a video call. And the rendered to texture tech is basically just taking the camera from there and displaying it somewhere else in the game. That's how they do the comms calls when you call into ATC, and it actually does work once in a blue moon. When you see the person pop up and talk to you, that's because it's a video of them actually talking to you. This is also how I think they plan on doing mirrors. But the thing is, it's super resource intensive, and it can really start to bog down computers if you do too much render to texture. So they talked about doing landing cameras like this, but I think it would be, I think it's too resource intensive for something like that. But it's an interesting piece of technology that you don't really get to hear about unless they've talked about it. So I thought I'd point that out. Yeah, this is who Sophie Wu plays, right? This video is 7 years old now. Which is pretty crazy.
Things that
so,
we can
I mean,
do
she's
with
actually
briefings.
down
because
on
she's
the flight.
actually down there. Yeah.
This is that's
Sorry, they're explaining it now. I'm stupid.
it's like a live Skype call happening in the game right now,
Right.
which is super cool. And the same was for Wexler. Like Wexler's sitting there in his office in Schuben that we could see out.
I'll just shut up now.
Super cool. So, and here you're in full control. I mean, it just happens to be that we were looking at Captain White, but we could come over here. That's Mark's gonna, or Old Man as he is in our game. It's gonna head off, and he actually, and they all, everyone that does, we don't cheat in this. They don't like.
They're working on ray
like,
tracing.
pass all the
They
way
have a
down,
prototype of ray tracing working in the
you can
game.
follow him, and I've had fun because we have a certain playthrough done, but he actually changes his outfit and gets.
I don't know if that happens server side though on Star Citizen.
Been good, sir.
And we've still got the last 10% just push these faces, push the characters, push the quality just a little bit further.
More like 40%. Those kind of statements are like, either you make that statement when you know that you have more time to do and it's just a flat out lie, or you make that statement when you think that you're almost done and things go wrong, or you don't realize how much work you have to do. I mean, I know that there are times when things get delayed or run into problems at like the last second and ends up kind of pushing everything out. But clearly, you know, given where we are right now, 5 to 10% wasn't true back then. So it is going to be really interesting someday to see the documentary. I hope No Clip actually does something on Star Citizen to see what they have to say about statements that were made like that, only to realize that it was going to be so much longer. Because I'm sure that happens internally at a lot of studios. We don't get to get that kind of insight to a lot of games. I can't even imagine what kind of statements were made about like Mass Effect Andromeda when it was being made.
But that last little percentage will always take the time, and we could do it infinitely. There's people.
Yeah, I
There's
mean,
the
I
whole
think
industry doing it.
we've got some tech that we're talking about doing on the heads and the faces, where there'll be some additional simulation beyond what we just have captured.
And it's meant to be subtle stuff.
They didn't want to make the tech as spectating and send it to a flat panel. I think that's what you're saying. Something like just creating a video of it, because they don't want people to be stuck in cutscenes. So if a cutscene plays in Squadron 42, it's never supposed to take control away from you. You're supposed to be able to walk around a cutscene while it's happening. So if they're doing something like a video call, you're supposed to be able to see that happening in the other ship, whatever you're looking at, and be able to interact with that person still.
And all of these things will
make
be
the
subtle.
muscles and stuff be better.
Yeah, it's kind
so-
of like skin jiggling on top of the muscles, as well as the blinks. That was some of the things that sometimes called out the blinks. Or sometimes the same speed of close as open, which isn't really that real. But when it's a PCAP performance like this, the technology just totally shines.
No, it's great.
Especially with an actor.
I
Like
love it.
this.
I
It's
mean,
crazy.
Liam Cunningham's great, and this is a great scene. You really get to, you sort of.
Yeah, it talks about his son.
It's nice, and and we have a lot of these moments with, a lot of the characters in the game, because we had like 350 speaking roles in this when we shot it.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
And we I think we basically hired every actor we could hire in London.
And yeah.
There's a lot of good ones, and it was great.
But yeah, again, I mean, this was another example, kind of like what I was saying with the Lars thing, like the pauses of,
While he listens to you.
while he listens to it, while he's thinking, he gets lost in thought and stuff like that. It's just, they really did a great job.
Well, he
The
sits
facial
there,
animators
sits there listening to you while you've gone and left the computer to get a drink. He just sits there looking at you for 30
Love to
minutes.
solve those ones too.
Yeah, and I love that because you can see it.
Yeah, they're easier.
You see that pause right there before he says, "I've kept you too long. You're dismissed, Lieutenant."
Yeah.
Yes,
And you can sort of see him thinking it, and I think
Subtle
those little
stuff.
things. I mean, this is just a very tiny amount of what's in actual Squadron 42. And
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
when we were locking down all the performances and editing it without any of the scenes and without the rest of the stuff, the characters felt really alive, and I think it's gonna be great. Again, this is the RTT tech being used. This is we got some color light balancing stuff to do. So
Yeah, I
a
think
lot of
it's
the
still
video
overexposed.
comms that you'll see in this and the RTT is not going to be how it is in the final. I mean, our goal is
The idea is that because you have full control over every cutscene, you never have to be there. You can skip everything. You're going to probably miss some important stuff, but you're supposed to be able to walk away, yeah.
because that's rendered live. He's down in the flight control playing
Yo, John
his
Winters.
lines.
What's up,
And
dude?
You've got a camera there and it's playing it on you. But the goal is that the RTT looks just like it does when you're here wandering around the phone. So we still got some dialing in to do, but a lot of this stuff sort of has come in recently, as people know, also in 3.0. So it's still pretty early days.
And the importance of this
Early
was all
days.
the functionality. Everything needs to flow together, run together. Basically, anybody needs to be able to start this up and be able to play through, chapters. Well, I'm not going to say which ones they were, but the chapters that we're in.
I'm looking for some new gear. What can I get for you?
And this is Chakma. He's our sort of ship's weapons master
Combat
guy
knife.
who's going to hook you up with your guns.
Yeah, and I love it.
You guys see the way he walked up to him? Look at his
They were,
arms.
but the chapters that we're in.
What can I get for you?
Some new gear. What can I get for you?
And this is Chakma. He's our sort of ship's weapons master
Combat
guy
knife.
who's going to hook you up with your guns.
Do they need
and
this
I
tech?
love it.
Which
this
tech?
is another one of my goals here with this is I'm really, the tactile I was saying about you put the clothes on. And, I hate this, how I just look at a screen and I pick my weapons or something where it just feels very gamey.
And just
He's
magic.
got them lats.
Magically appears. And so this is, and actually in Star Citizen and some shops I'd like to have this level too, where a shopkeeper will put things in front of you. But it's great because he actually picks the weapon out, and we don't select it here. But if we went and said, "Want the bearing AR rifle?" he'll go over to, because all the different weapons are on the racks behind him, and he actually
render the
takes it from
texture?
there and puts it down in front of you. But again,
I think the rendered texture is more useful for this than it is for Star Citizen. because Star Citizen, the load is much heavier if you're using render to texture. But for something like this, I think it makes more sense because you don't need to worry as much about that load. So it's nicer to get the real interaction with the person. I don't think it's something that adds extra work, like a huge amount of extra work. I think it's just another way of displaying that same information. People do it. I think there are other games that do it. For instance, a game like Portal. But you don't need it. I mean, I could give you a book of things that don't need to be in this game for us to be able to play it.
Terms of
That's just how they like to do things. They love being immersive and.
But it's kind of fun, and you can also come in here, get a weapon, go to the shooting range just across the way, do some practice shooting. I mean, I forgot to mention there's a shooting range and an armory as well on the Idris. I mean, the Idris has got so much stuff.
So much.
It's crazy. I mean, honestly, we got to get the AI crew working for players in the main PU Star Citizen, because otherwise it's going to be a very lonely experience. Your own floating fortress.
When we all first saw that animation,
Jeez, he just aimed the gun at him.
he does the when he cocks the weapon, puts the magazine in his hands, we're all like, oh, yep, Steven Bender was here. He definitely was the very, very
and this
flamboyant.
This is kind of a fun movie reference, and it's actually an Easter egg, and really the Easter egg. Well, I'm not going to tell you how you get it, because it will not be an option from the beginning.
Yeah.
Right.
When you
wasn't that the LH86 pistol?
We thought we'd put it in here for fun to say that.
Yeah, it was kind of too much.
Oh no, that's a. Yeah, it was an LH86, wasn't it?
Easter egg.
Or was it the
floating.
Yeah, that's the Gemini pistol.
Lonely experience.
Does look a little bit different though, maybe a different skin.
You play the proper game, but we thought we'd put it in here for fun to say that.
Yeah, it was kind of too much to resist if you're walking up to a gun guy and asking him for weapons.
Yeah,
to not
exactly.
Throw in.
And by the way, there's quite a few fun Easter eggs in Squadron that we're not going to talk about, and I'll be looking forward to seeing everyone discover within, I don't know, the first day or so it gets released.
Yeah, there's one in particular that I have a feeling you were thinking about that I'm dying to know if anyone discovers it, because it's going to be awesome if they do.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they will. This is
If you guys are looking for some desync fixes, check out the May monthly report. They talked a little bit about stuff they were doing for that.
Yeah, we had some fun with it. So
I don't know if you can shoot everybody in the ship on this. That's a good question. I don't know how immersive sim they're going with it.
Made some nods to it.
Yeah, we've all got similar sense of humor on all this stuff too. One of the things when you're walking across that walkway, like those, there's windows that are down to the hangar. You can see all the deck crew and everybody moving around the ships, getting them ready. I quite like the additions to the windows and everything here. Here's Belosa.
Yeah.
Infamous Mop Man.
Best thing about everyone being at battle stations.
He's a bit more than he seems, isn't he?
Janitor tech.
Well, I mean, also in the mopping is a bit more than it seems.
Talk is talk. I don't know what else to tell you. That's the only way we can. I don't know how we can see features to help with desync other than just what they say they're doing for it.
Stuff is he can move, pick up his bucket, go around, and actually clean up puddles and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's all like
Tessa.
kind of procedural. So that's it'd be cool. It just makes the place more alive.
Yeah, totally.
We've had a skirmish with the OMC and you've seen how they fly.
So again, just little bits that jump out at me while we watch this. Right, we're gonna improve.
A comprehensive history of Star Citizen would. Oh God, that's a lot. I'd have to bring somebody else in who was around for the earlier times than me. But I think we could do something like that at some point this year. I'd probably bring in like Astropub and one or two other people, and we do something collaborative on it.
We're going to improve some eye convergence, definitely in these.
We are trying to go to CitizenCon this year, yeah.
Hitching there. I mean, a lot of this stuff, we've gotten the stuff in because it's sort of the proof of concept vertical slice, but a lot of the dialing in, the subtleties of it, we haven't had the time to do yet. Of course, we will be doing. And here, I mean, we know what's happening, so and the playthrough, we're kind of waiting for the Argo to come in, but that's all happening live in the game, and then we're taking over and if you went back to your point of view, you would see this playing out from the point of view up where you were in the sort of ready room.
For me, this is one of the best examples of why having all the faces at the level that we have, all the characters at the level we have, all the performances at the level we have really, really makes a difference to the game. Because this is you get real invested in this cutscene. You can see some subtle emotions that are really, really hard to communicate from a game character. For example, being in.
Okay, this would be like one of the times when you were saying you want to skip a cutscene. He was just saying this whole thing is playing out in the game, so you don't have to pay attention to it. You could just go and walk around the spaceship, walk down to this area, watch it all happen in front of you, and that's kind of the same way that they do the render to the texture. it's all happening, so we might as well render it so that the player can see it. It's just their thing. You know, they like to do that kind of thing. I think it'll be cool. Immersive. Immersion. Yeah, definitely hoping to be at CitizenCon. That'd be cool to meet.
Charged but scared at the same time.
Yeah.
So you can see these guys are hauling these guys out. The first, it's pretty easy, and then, they start to get a little bit nervous and these kind of things.
But yeah, I mean,
You can even see it on their faces. Like,
Yeah.
to be able to read a face like that is a tricky thing in most games.
No, I've never been in one of these. It's nice. Not as nice as a Bengal, but nice. Move it. Oh, come on, clear out.
Stessig, you know this is gameplay, right?
It was actually
Like they're
fun to
playing the
shoot
game.
on the day,
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
it?
IMC's gonna have to teach you screw tops some manners.
Are you looking to start trouble?
Yeah, maybe a couple eye darts in there, and that would be good.
I always
Close.
miss the
So
important
close.
things when you do that stuff.
And he actually popped around
got
a
a
bunch.
great
He
actor.
appeared as a bunch of different
Not walking
characters.
around
Yeah,
chatting
well,
gameplay.
he's a great theater actor in
Yeah.
the UK, and we have some other.
Would
fun.
you like me to skip 20 minutes further into the video, Stessig, or do we have? Can we pull through? Don't worry, there is gameplay.
Smaller
And then
roles?
here
that
comes
you
okay.
get
Big
into.
guy. We got to make the Argo kind of come up just
Yeah,
a tiny bit.
Well, he's big in real life too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ain't like we're gonna be
maybe
here
6'6"
long.
or something.
Ain't like they're gonna be here long either. What the hell are you all going on about?
It's very simple. We're OMC. And OMC
They captured
belongs to
board game.
Sato Khan. And Sato Khan doesn't like people messing with his things, you got me?
You got me.
Sato Khan? Is that your boss? Are we supposed to be scared of him or something?
Yeah.
Neuer, run up to the holding cells.
Just add into the comments. Fair. We'll get to the gameplay. They're trying to show off all the different parts of the
Again,
campaign
just that
here for.
subtle emotion, right?
Aye, sir.
You don't usually get that.
For you three.
Well, yeah, I mean that's when you've got the performance capture.
Yeah.
You know the actors can play and they can do the stuff. and
together,
You
yeah.
need good actors because they're,
Absolutely.
they're sitting there in grey suits with camera rigs on their heads. So they got to
Yeah.
pretend they're
Holding
on a
still. Sure.
spaceship and coming out. But if you have good ones, then you can really get the subtlety that you got with that. Which
Just
is great.
aims the gun at
That's
the back
all
of
the
his
way
friend
through,
there.
which is, I think people, it's going to be. That's what's going to make it different to what you've seen before. Now, and also, by the way, if I decided I didn't really want to see that scene play out, and I just came out of my point of view, Oldman, while that was happening, went and pathed to his locker, opened the locker, put his flight suit on, and then headed off down to the flight deck and gotten into the his Gladius at the front. And you could see that. You could just say,
You
"Oh,
saw
I
the
don't
sim
wanna-
pods?
This thing's happening over here. I'm not interested in that," and turn around and do that. And I actually did it on a couple of playthroughs just for the fun of it. But yeah, it's cool. So again, this is tactile. You pick up, you hold the helmet. It's a bit janky. Some of our take-up stuff is still.
That's supposed to be a feature that they're doing in Star Citizen, where you can store your loadout in a locker, and then instead of having to go and assign everything that you want to have on you one at a time, you would just like pick your suit from the locker, and it would assign all of your items and your weapons and everything all at once as kind of a
Actually did
loadout.
it on a couple of.
Can't wait for
playthroughs
that.
Just for the fun of it. But yeah, it's cool. So again, this is tactile. You pick up, you hold the helmet. It's a bit janky. Some of our take-up stuff still needs quite a lot of work. Even if you guys are playing 3.0,
Yeah, these are the sim
take-up
pods.
stuff still needs quite a lot of work.
Technically, you can kind of see it right here. It's a little blurry. These are supposed to be the things that you sit in to play Arena Commander in Star Citizen.
Even if you guys are playing 3.0, you see that. There's a couple of the Marines heading off to the brig.
And the engineer, engineer's never in a rush.
Yeah, they fix things on their own time.
Exactly.
That might have been Tannen, I think.
Those
He was
Marines, though,
definitely
they were running for it.
on a break.
That Tagaka character, too, I'd be remiss not to mention that the character team had a lot of fun with that. Because typically we try to share bodies and meshes all we can, but with this guy, nope, he was going to have to be a big guy, huge arms,
Yeah, you
big
can save your
tattoos,
weapons already.
huge neck. It was really fun to make that character. He's the most interesting.
Yeah, and I got
one
to write
that
a
we've done for a while.
tattoo doc, which is always fun.
Yeah, there was a whole story behind
Yeah.
the tattoos.
Yeah.
Like before he was a criminal, and it's great.
Like the ones he got on quarterdeck while he was in prison. And
Hey, finish the work on your scanner. It should help you track down.
And
that
Sophie's got some great
Fly safe.
eye rigging that happens. Just again, some of these subtle emotions I'm just not used to seeing on them. So Sophie Wu does a great job of.
So we
Webster.
could. I always, when I do it, I inspect the helmet first because I think that's fun,
Nice.
and then I put it on, and there's a flip we could do.
Isn't it kind of crazy that you have a ship as big as the Idris, but it's only rated to carry like 3 light fighters? I know you could fit a lot more in there. Maybe it's more than 3 at this point, but it's insane how much space you actually need in a spaceship to put other spaceships in it safely.
We'll get it. And again, this is another example of, we're in, this is live gameplay. It's sort of trigger, because, we don't control Old Man, so we want to sort of show off the fun of, that Top Gun launch kind of thing.
Yep.
Totally.
So we trigger that, but if you wanted to not deal with that, you could hit the key
I think it's
and
3
be sitting in
safely.
the cockpit watching it all happen in front of you, rather than the more cinematic stuff that's happening.
Sure, and then CTAL calls you from,
No, so
the ATC
either
up there?
from the point of view here or seeing this, but, this, we're going for a cinematic feel, so personally I think this is how I would see it. I think a lot of players.
I don't know how the inventory screen is going to progress given their physical interaction plans.
And we still, our sort of space lighting still has a ways to go, like the live dynamic GI that we're working on isn't in quite yet, so that will add a lot to.
And also with all the camera cuts we're turning on and off at certain lights, we're opening doors, we're doing
That
all
is
this
some
stuff in real
fidgety
time again
landing
because
gear.
It's not in a video. This is all actually in the world right beside the player happening. So there's just a bigger challenge with it.
And it's why you see the frame rate drop a little bit, because there's a lot more stuff getting drawn here. And you're also seeing some things like
landing
you
gear
saw some
flickering.
jittering on the landing gear because it's all physicalized, and there's sort of there was some conflict between the animation and the actual physics simulation, which is all stuff we'll dial in and won't be there in the final one. But it's still early stages, so
It's also worth throwing out that the level of detail on the flight deck crew. That whole handoff thing is. That's all.
just make sure.
Another Stephen Better specialist.
Well, I think he got hold of some.
So this is before object container streaming was a thing, and I'm pretty sure when they leave the Idris right now, we'll see it.
Really,
He got hold of some proper carrier deck crew, and they sort of worked out what different people would do in this sort of situation, because it's slightly different for this than you would be on on an aircraft carrier, because we're not really have a catapult launch, but we kind of have it for fun, and luckily you don't need this many people to launch your ship in the persistent universe. But
so it was a little bit
it's
dark
fun
in
for
this capture here, but they were doing actual semaphore that would be for on the
I think the thing was that we just put in a change in the lighting state for the launch, which is this emergency, and it needs a few more lights because you can't. See,
they look like little Tron
You can't
guys
see the
talking to you right
guys
now.
telling you what to do, but they're there, like giving you the spin your engines up. Okay, they do the triangle over them for you to go to hover mode, and then
you're
here's us
loading
sort of
in.
launching, and you can see that's loading a bunch of stuff at
A little bit of jitter.
outside.
A lot of the exterior of the Idris usually.
Yeah, and then we cut out to the third person to show it, and now we're sort of out flying in sort of the outskirts of the coil where Shubin's based. So the coil, do you want to tell us a little bit about the coil?
The coil is sort of the remnants of Odin 1. So the first planet in the system got kind of smashed up when the star nova'd. So it sort of created this kind of weird
Catch you later, squirrel.
sort of electromagnetic anomaly. So it's just these like massive chunks of like planetary debris and this weird sort of perpetual ongoing ion electrical storm type thing. So it's a very like precarious place to go. And but mining companies like try to risk it because there's a lot of minerals in there. But also criminals use it because it's so dangerous that people won't follow them in there. So it's a very kind of sketchy.
Right. And the OMC's base is kind of in the coil.
They
so
operate around
I
it.
think the coil, like we were looking about 10,000 kilometers in radius, so about 20,000 kilometers in diameter, about 10 times the size of one of our sort of Earth planets, like it's been exploded, because we scale things down, which is our Earth planet.
This
like an
was
Earth planet would be about
2017.
1,000 kilometers in radius. And actually, the tech that's doing this is not a background; it's a full-on sort of volumetric. Kind of cloud tech.
Well, you can see the lighting coming through. That's the biggest challenge is the volumetric lighting through such a structure, and the graphic guys have been working on it quite a lot, and it's still coming along.
And it's it's also early days.
Like
the issue that we have here is it doesn't handle the scale that we need to go for. The big, as I said, right now I think this is maybe about 800 kilometers in radius, not 10,000 kilometers.
Oh, is this the part you can see the Sidnus mining drones here? See this right here? Massive. Hold on, I think I had a picture of this actually. Nope, I don't think I actually do. Hold on, I could do a quick Google search because you do not get an idea of the scale of that thing until you look at what they look like next to a person. Here you go. Here's one next to a Hornet. So you can see it's like way bigger than a Hornet. But I thought there was one next to next to a person, I think.
Harvest. But then initially they started off pretty small.
So this is how big it is.
The size of a transit van, but now they're like absolutely huge.
Just a massive mining drone size of like a large spaceship.
We kind of, the initial sort of brief was these sort of deep sea mining rigs.
So this is kind of the first time we ever got to see one in the game, in engine. But you can see them here all along this asteroid. So I'm guessing they'll be a part of the game.
I don't know, 800 kilometers in radius, not 10,000 kilometers in radius.
Yeah.
So the further version of the tech will allow us to have different sizes and scales of sort of VDB clouds or whatever. And we use it's this open VDB format, which is sort of a
it's a voxel format.
Oh, we won't be carrying those around.
Sparse. It was actually first developed by DreamWorks
That's right.
to use in the one where they go to the clouds with Jack the kitty, you know, the
Puss in
Antonio
Boots,
Banderas
Chris.
Movie. My kids watch it all.
Puss in Boots?
Shrek?
Yeah, Puss in Boots.
There you go.
Puss in Boots, and they go up to the Giants Land in the clouds.
Huh.
Anyway, but that was where the VDB was first developed
Metal
by
Gear
the team at DreamWorks. But we use it because it allows you to sort of define where the voxels
No,
are.
those aren't the drones we'll be using. Those are, I think, specific for Shubin Interstellar, their mining company.
You don't have to have a regular, grid for it.
Right, and we could run it through our resource compiler in real time. So they export basically a frame from Houdini or FumeFX or something, some crazy level of sim. And I liked it because a lot of people will think this is just a skybox, and actually I think it's right about here that we go into quantum and you actually see the thing's not a skybox at all. You know,
Yeah.
it's an actual fully volumetric thing, and I've never seen anything quite so soft in a game. Normally when you have volumetric clouds and these kind of things, the edges are never soft. You always see this undersampling or lines and some sort of blend. But yeah, it's some of the best I've seen.
Yeah, and like I said, for the final one, the much more scale, there'll be ability to have different sizes of it and a lot more put together. So you'll actually have a lot more of it and a lot more activity and a lot more sort of animation in terms of like lightning and stuff.
This is where we'd get quantum boost now instead of quantum travel.
That's when you really get a good feel.
So you
for
get a
it
sense
there.
of that
Yeah.
will be full.
And that's kind of what I think. This is sort of the scale of a lot of the exploration people will be doing. Is this kind of like, I guess maybe a little bit further than this, but like your 1,000 to 10,000 kilometer travel, where you're just kind of flying through space clouds and asteroid belts looking for little points of interest.
So you get a sense of that will be full volumetric, and it'll allow, because we have this whole progression where there's outside the coil, on the edge of the coil you go deeper, and as you get more deeper it becomes more and more dangerous. It's like going into the eye of the storm basically. And then one thing I just call out is some of our UI is and our HUD stuff, it's all very early. We rolled out a little bit here for the 3.0 stuff, but it's all a bit clunky. It's going to get better. Because if I was criticizing this portion of it, it would be mostly about kind of the feel in the cockpit, how easy it is to navigate.
Yeah, quantum boost will be a thing.
Devices. So that's all something that we have to spend a fair amount of time dialing in for Star Citizen, but also for Squadron, and there'll be a big focus, this coming year actually, to really sort of dial in the feel of being in the cockpit and flying it, because we've been adding so many features for Star Citizen.
Man, it took them so long. Like, they're still working on that kind of stuff. Just like, I want to be in their brains to know what they meant.
In itself, that we have a lot of the sort of subtleties of the feel side of things have been neglected, but it's now, as a lot of the features are in place to allow us to do this sort of stuff, we've got to get back to making that aspect of it work well, and that would include like the traversal here. So like you add to your sort of first navigation point, like a nav point, like a Wing Commander, and then the next one to go towards the Starfarer, and you should see that sort of animate in as your nav point. Once you get to it and that you've got there, it would say, okay, now here's the next one. And here is actually kind of fun. This is a Nathan Dearsley special.
Oh yeah.
No, because he's like, I really want to make the traversal to arrive at the Starfarer wreck kind of interesting. And how about these two huge, massive asteroids that are
interesting,
kind of close to each other that you have to fly between, which is what we're doing.
Here. Yeah, and I think you're totally right on the situational awareness for the players, kind of the big thing that we'll continue to work on. And it's not exactly the hardest thing either. It can easily take a backseat as you're developing features, tech, figuring out ways to put this in, figuring out ways just to get this stuff working, and then from there you make it feel a little better, make it play a little more fun.
This was after Planet Tech was announced.
Give the player the information to make those decisions.
I feel like this year we spent a huge amount of time just rolling out a lot of tech and features and trying to get them basically working in a basic sense. And this coming year there'll be more features and tech, but also there needs to be a lot more polish.
Early salvage gameplay
for what we're doing in Squadron, definitely, because we're trying to obviously want to get this in people's hands, but also for Star
and drones.
And again, here's another example of a sort of cutaway to establish the scene, so you can come up and see the Reclaimer and who's piloting it. It's a little dark here, but the actual idea is you come up and then sort of the camera, as you see it, the camera takes over to give you more of a close-up. So this still would need a lot more dialing in for the final the game, but it's kind of nice. And again, if you looked over at Mark Hamill or Gary Oldman in his ship, you would see him talking, and you go up and you went to the window, she's talking as well as being on the RTT. So they're actually live.
Yeah, they're actually there. Like that's what always blows my mind with these things, because so often that's been video or like. And again, I can't really think of another game that's actually projecting a volume from one place into the other, like onto a screen like this. And even her performance is quite good. Again, and she was not even like a top tier sort of character that we had to do. This was this is kind of a side quest, a side mission.
Yeah, she's well, and also I mean that's not even.
I think the biggest games coming out now are like $70 standard.
That's a combination of a couple NPC places plus one of our HR directors, Geometry.
No, we actually there was actually, I can't forget the name of the actress, but she was really good.
But I don't think we scanned her. Was the only.
Yeah, I think. Okay. But I think the thing is, we have quite a lot of heads and faces that we scan, but we haven't processed them all yet. So a lot of time, like you'll see it in terms of some of our slavers, or say Donna Atar here, we kind of put an NPC head in while we're waiting to have the head finished or built out. But like, so for instance, when the OMC Prisoners came out, those three guys, those were the actual actors that we had, and you can really sort of see it. And we just have so many. I think there was, in terms of scanned heads, there was way over 100 scanned heads, and we still got a lot to.
No, I don't think Squadron will be ready this year. If it's not already in beta, it won't be ready this year.
Obviously all the A-list cast is there.
And again, we might not know if it's in beta.
Kind of characters are mostly there. Now it's the smaller parts,
but
like
I don't think it will
pilot
be.
of the Reclaimer that you come across and stuff like that. But again, here's where I think the user experience, the UI for the.
I might be willing to do $70. It really depends on what kind of game it is.
And it needs to be so.
But I think it's probably worth it.
Playthrough, we kind of know where the points are because we sort of constructed it.
Yeah.
But from a new user standpoint, you wouldn't really know. And so that's all sort of detail and polish stuff that we're starting to work on. But the point of the vertical slice was really to put the different elements that you would experience in the game together, right? So it's like aboard the ship that you're based, interacting with the crew, the sort of emotional side of that, then the flying, then the running around on ground and doing it all fluidly, not having a loading screen or a transition animation or anything like that. So that was kind of that is what the vertical slice is really about to show. But a lot of the detail and the subtlety and the fluidity of it, will get dialed in as we finish
Hank Mills
Squadron this coming year.
Cho's performance is quite good too. I'll start mentioning performances. Everybody's performances.
Yeah, well, she's the actress who plays Trio is really good. She's, I don't know, UK folks probably know her from Poldark.
Project Zomboid is 13 years in?
I think she's a... Just look it up.
No, I don't think... I don't think Star Citizen or Squadron should be buggy at launch. At least not so buggy that you're noticing it or it's noteworthy. You know, it's never going to be bug-free. Yeah, Universe Sim is 10 years as well. That's been a fun development cycle. I've actually been kind of surprised at how slow Universe Sim has been going the last few years.
Yeah, no, I mean, and again, it's like all, whether it's major characters or very, very minor characters, like people really...
Yeah, I feel like people. One of the other things too is this is about halfway through the game, if I'm not
Good point,
mistaken.
Fresh Rider.
Or so.
Oh, you mean story-wise?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not halfway through the game.
It's
before that. It's probably
just
about
a bit before third.
About a third.
Yeah. So just to mention that, you know, that's why there's really no player hand-holding at this point, right? You've already gone through your, you know, learning how to use the
got
map,
stolen.
learning how to do things. So that's generally why there's not a ton of that either.
Yeah, no, we basically
yeah.
So what happens is when you first arrive on your posting, which is the UE Stanton, we have a fair amount of missions that you run, and during those missions, we sort of in the game itself teach you how to do things.
Yep.
You know, Oldman sort of coaches you, and you sort of learn all these basics of scanning and traversal and combat, and then by the time you get here, you'll have learned them all. So that still doesn't excuse the fact that some of our UX and UI can be better, but yeah, that I mean, we constructed because, you know, I hate these, you know, whatever, you play Call of Duty and you got to go to the shooting range. Like, I don't want to go to the shooting range. I want to get into the story.
It's a little overt. Yeah. No, and I don't like the overt training.
Well,
either.
we tried
There's
to also. I mean, we tried to
that.
be a little bit more cognizant of that.
They need to change the star map for sure.
People will ask if you want help. And if you say yes, then you can do it. Because people have been playing Arena Commander and stuff like that. So it's sort of a unique experience where, like, they can enter into this game being fully aware how to do.
Look at how low this ring of debris is orbiting this planet. Imagine how fast it would have to be flying around the planet to be staying in orbit like that, unless the gravity is super low.
How to do things.
But it's got clouds, so I don't know.
Everything in the ship.
Yeah, no, it's true, actually.
Yeah, and then... So I'd like to point out here one thing that didn't make our vertical slice. We're kind of a little bummed about it. We had a whole sort of scanning. There's a whole radar and scanning stuff that you are not seeing here that almost made it, but didn't, and we kind of ran out of time. But here you would actually do a scan. You would scan these. You would get a readout, and it would actually say, you know, Mercy Gutierrez, and it would actually say that she's 135 years old.
Yeah, her date of birth and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you're like, well, hang on a second. This is a bit weird. She's flying a Cutlass, and they're doing a patrol pattern.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's, you know, the idea is the slavers have got a jacked IDs and stuff. And the scanning actually in a lot of this here, finding Trejo, and even when we get down onto the planet, you know, because there's an FPS scanning thing where you can sort of do almost a little like the Batman stuff where you can sort of do a scan and, you know, analyze where the weak points are. So in a lot of what you see later on, really you would do scanning to figure out some of the stuff. We know, like, we get a battery from over here or whatever. That's because we sort of know the layout, but that's because the scanning was sort of missing. And the other thing, we have a whole new GPU shield effect that's pretty cool, but I think
you don't really see it much.
I don't think we saw it here. I think it was in we didn't get it fixed in time to work in the vertical slice, but it will be something that we're coming to Star Citizen, like a 3.1, and it'll be in Squadron. And it's very cool because now we have GPU particles. We've got this what we call sign distance field around all the ships, which conform to the exterior of the ship, so you get actually the proper shape, and we can run particles and they get attracted over it. So when an energy hits on the shield, you can sort of see them spread out over the shape of the ship. It's sort of the thing that you would use in high-end visual effects and pre-rendered stuff, but we can sort of now do it in the GPU stuff, which is pretty good. And I believe this was Robbie Ems, is one of our designers, was piloting. I did tell him that he didn't really follow. We actually don't. The scene with Haynes, he asks you if you got any tips, and one of the things you say, right, Dave, is the best pilots conserve their ammo.
He is not conserving his ammo.
He is not conserving his ammo. Firing for effect.
Yeah. He is rooming.
And again, this is, like I said, you know,
ship combat is the least interesting thing in Star Citizen, period, for me. So that's why Squadron 42 is not super exciting to me, because I'm not crazy about combat. but I do like the idea of the story. And that's why a game like Starfield is actually a more interesting idea for a single-player space game than Squadron 42. For me, I am a person who came from an RPG kind of more civil jobs and game mechanics than doing combat and spaceship combat. So some people will definitely like this more. I don't know if I will. I really want to see what the updated kind of model of gameplay is going to be and what else we can do outside of the combat. But I think that there's going to be a focus on that kind of thing.
Just reorganized.
Skyer, thanks for dropping by.
So Nathan has now become the art director for our overall squadron, in charge of the ships, the environments, everything in it.
This from 2017, yeah.
I mean, you've all known Nathan's amazing ship videos.
He's got grand visions.
He's got, so yeah, it's going to be great.
All right, I'm going to start to speed this up a little bit so you can still see everything else.
We were here.
A little exploration.
The demo, which is unfortunate because it was almost there, but it wasn't all the way there, so we couldn't show it. But there'll be more gameplay here where you're basically sleuthing around, because what we want to do is have all these tools, because they'll work great in Star Citizen, the big sandbox, but also in Squadron. You know it's not just a straight on the rails shooter like you may see.
I don't think Chris wrote the story.
Typical sort of like a Call of Duty.
Pretty sure it was David Haddock who wrote most of it.
RPG elements. You have some more sleuthy elements, some stealth elements, and things.
I might be wrong
puzzles,
about
right?
that,
like,
though.
You'll see a puzzle that will come up here, and it'll be a better puzzle in the final game because again, we're missing some of our scanning that sort of helps you figure out stuff. But you can pick things up, move things, use them, all that stuff.
I should mention
Anything
it's
but
a
being a
sandbox
ship.
puzzle too. So like you don't have to fly your ship in here. It's cool that they did because it looks amazing when you get your ship in here. But I mean, you could park outside, you could 0G in, you could take your time, you could go explore the planet, come back. Like there's a lot of again, it's sandbox. It's
the thing I'm excited about Starfield is that they keep on referencing Morrowind as their inspiration for it, as opposed to some of their newer games. So it does feel like they are focusing more on the things that made their older games a little bit stand out more.
Kind of low, stealthy type approach to it, but you could just as easily say, screw it, I'm gonna just fly right at it and just open fire and try and take them head on, and that's a viable way to
well, and that's part of. I mean, we can talk to it when we get a bit lower, but that's not. Yeah. That would be in the final game way better signposted, where you get down, you have your options of because the reason why you'd fly low is the slavers have a whole bunch of radar and AA guns set up, which will basically take you out if you're flying too high, so you've got to get low under it. But you can decide, where we land is the back entrance that's shut down.
Right.
But you could go in the front door and really just go out in a straight all brawling out fight. It's kind of up to you.
I gotta mention the rendering here though. There's the volumetric fog, the new fog tech, the HDR fog tech, plus the shadows, plus the sun, plus the dynamism of the thing moving around.
I actually don't know if they mean the writing when they talk about it so much as just the game mechanics and the RPG elements of Morrowind, as opposed to how they kind of change things up with Oblivion and Skyrim.
There's a gun there you can pick up. There'll be a bunch of.
Squadron 42, I believe, takes place in 2948, whereas in Star Citizen we're currently in 2953.
Maybe it's just how it got crunched when we created it.
They might change the date though to fit.
But it's a lot more subtlety when I'm playing it on my screen. I can actually see things like.
And we're still dialing in the RTT things, especially in the interior of the helmet. So that's now like an RTT projected into the helmet glass. So that's just move the positioning probably a little bit. It's a little washed out right now.
Yeah, and we're actually missing. We got some sort of a first-person glass shader that we're going to use for your visor and your cockpit. There'll be subtle. It won't be as heavy-duty as the glass shader you see from third person, but it'll give you a slight feeling of being encased in glass, which I think will be useful here because you don't really feel that there's.
All right, so basically you get back to your ship and you start heading down to the planet.
What's happening? Or what
5-year difference.
Hearing it here and
2953, 2948. I think.
Place and mood.
Might be off a couple years.
Incredible. With this, with the infinite view distance, is just.
But look at how low we are. We're almost down to the mountains, and there's debris floating in the air.
Experience, and again, like in a lot of, everybody will be used to this being a skybox or something, and the fact that again we've gone from the edges through Shubin.
Supposed to be at the same time.
That's why Sean's going to come to every person's house.
It wouldn't make sense though, because Squadron 42, the first chapter, is the reason that the Polaris gets built. I believe the Battle of Vega, which starts us out for Squadron 42, I think ends up being. What leads to the Polaris being built, and the Polaris is brought in for Chapter 2 and Star Citizen, but I don't know. They're gonna have to mix the lore up a little bit with the timeline, I guess.
Yes.
Not a skybox.
This is not a skybox.
Yeah, well, I mean that's the thing, right? That's the difficult thing with the.
That's what makes all of this harder.
Is the scale, and I know people. Oh well, the frame rate's low right now. Yeah, we know it's slow, but no one else is trying to update or render or simulate this much stuff.
Right.
And we definitely have
the F7
solutions to bring the frame rate back in performance. It just takes time because it's a very complicated task. And I have no doubt we'll get there because we have some of the best engineers that are in the industry. But
and again, like I mean, when we were watching this during the show, like I mean, the same thought hit me as I was just watching it now, where it's like you think back as to where we've come from, waking up in the bunk, and there hasn't been a single load screen.
No, which really immerses. Like it has the effect of really investing you in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and anything that pulls you out of it is just super duper obvious. And like again, you see multiple.
All right, so here we do a little stealth mission where we fly under the radar all the way into this base. I want to be able to get you guys the rest of the Squadron news over the years. They make their approach.
The peeps, like kind of theme.
Very stealthy because they're staying under the radar, but you can just fly straight here, I believe they say.
Are really
You land in here, and then the FPS section of this gameplay starts.
So sometimes I just look down, and because the inner thought's there now, it actually makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, well,
if I don't remember.
But I mean, the long-term goal that I have is, you should be able, like, say, if you're using keyboard mouse, you should be able to play all from keyboard mouse. Turn on, couple mode or decouple mode, or turn your headlights on when you're in the cockpit by clicking on the buttons. Or you shouldn't have to know all the hotkeys, but if you do know the hotkeys, you'll be quicker. So it's sort of like, I don't know, an RTS. You're playing StarCraft. If you know the hotkeys, you can just do a lot more stuff quicker, but you don't need to know. You could just use your mouse to click on things and icons, and it'll be fine. And so that's the goal here. So you should, simple with a mouse and keyboard or a gamepad or a joystick. You should be able to do most of the stuff, and if you learn the hotkeys, you now don't need to actually physically interact with some of the stuff. You can just sort of shortcut to holster your weapon or drop something or something like that.
Yeah, and this is one of our more
their favorite, the cutting tool.
Your typical power puzzle where you've got to get a battery into this.
Well, I think the final one that was meant to happen here is it's actually got a burnt-out battery. So you get into it, you see the battery's burnt out, you need to find a fresh one. You would also have your tactical.
This is the resource management gameplay before it existed.
Use your pour on. We didn't really introduce the pour here. We just pulled it out.
Yeah.
But in the gameplay, the idea was that you would find the pour and then you would be able to use it. Here's a manual override, which is going to be a feature on most of our automatic doors. So if you cut the power to a space station or something, you can lock all the doors down, and then they have manual overrides. You can open them manually like that. So it's another way to potentially mess with people or breach or whatever.
First time we saw multi-tool?
Get out of that room. And
I think it was in the Star Citizen already.
Sure, you could probably get AI stuck up or.
Just don't think it was used for anything.
So I think in the final day this wouldn't be.
Actually, no, that came with 3.0. I think.
Right there on. But yeah, I mean, this would be a puzzle. You'd use your tactical visor. You'd scan around. You'd be looking for an energy source. If you get an indication of that.
Yeah, it'd be a lot more hinting, right?
And then there's some power over here. You go there, and then you would take it, and then do what we're going to do now.
Because I'm sure watching this fresh, you're like, well, he knows exactly where to go, exactly what to grab, and yeah, it's true, he does. He knows exactly where to go and exactly what to grab, but we'll inform the player a little bit, but not lead him right to it.
Yeah. I mean, this is
simple things like green.
Morning, Adam.
And, that kind of stuff.
It's still early days as far as dialing all that in. This is, again, vertical slice to sort of indicate how all the systems work together. But yeah, so this is the idea. I mean, the idea is it's not always flying and shooting things.
That did not go all the way in.
Things. Sometimes you have to do puzzles. So the puzzle here was to figure out how to get the power back on. Again, you could get the key, go back to your point of view, and this could all happen from your point of view. But
see, I think that's going to be a kind of a quest objective in a lot of Star Citizen missions once resource management is working. This is the kind of thing that they'll be putting in underground facilities, in all these outposts, probably in space stations, this idea of finding and repairing components and getting power working so you can get through a stage. I think that is a super big little preview of a lot of gameplay opportunities.
You do nice cinematics to show off the great scenes that we have.
Yeah, and to give the sense of that little player, the player a sense of accomplishment in that moment, right? Because it's a tiny little
Story-wise,
victory.
transition from Squadron to PU, we don't know it because we don't know what happens in episodes 2 and 3. I'm
And
assuming
the other
those
thing that we
happen
don't have in
before
it,
Star Citizen takes place.
The plan is to have a sort of kind of 3D visor map. So in areas, as long as you get the schematics of the download, which in the case of Trejo, you would get it, so you could sort of see where you were generally.
We continue through this facility. And then we run into some more guards.
But having them working in concert and being a bit more tactical, and also like, hey, someone should run away if like you've killed 5 of their buddies. Maybe one of them was like, hell, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Yeah, I'm like
that drives me nuts in games and in movies where
They're
it's like
very committed to their job.
I mean, like you watch John Wick and you go,
The commentary definitely takes away from the gameplay.
Different for him than the other 50 people John Wick just went through. So no, I'd like to try to get a bit more, it'd be fun, a bit more personality. Like some people are, they're committed, and some people aren't so committed.
And we'll see a glimpse of it a little bit later on once the fight pops off. But like there was already some nice details that they were starting to get in, where it's people like blind firing over the tops of cover.
Well, we've got a whole bunch of Steve Bender. I mean, we actually overran the number of animations the engine supported. About a week or two ago. There's over 32,000. Right. So we're gonna. Steve's got so much stuff that we've captured and plans. I mean, I've got no doubt at the end of the day when we get it all fully dialed in, it will be a really, really nice experience with all the AI. And before that, that was another example of a puzzle where we cut it out and then we carry it, move it around. That's sort of the grabby hands, tactile stuff that we want to get in. And there'll definitely be stuff along that lines throughout the game, and a bit more obvious, because that's the game that if you looked at the approach here, you put your tactical visor on, it would tell you, okay, here's a potential weakness, back entrance. Here's the front door you can go through, and it would sort of mark out.
See, this is like, if we saw this vertical slice now, they could include the FPS scanning, they could show us the new interaction system, the mini map would be working. Like they could really give us a good idea of how the gameplay would be updated from this, which is super bare bones in comparison to what we could do now.
And the tactile visor, then you make your decision of how your approach is.
Yeah, but again, it's very much up to you how you wanna get in there.
Hey, Esber.
We got some nice takedowns here.
Yeah, and again, we still have a whole bunch of dialing in and the locomotion moving. And
that's not very good armor if somebody could just walk up and slit your throat. You need like a better...
Yeah, but you could have just snuck behind
better
a guy,
neck
for
guard.
Example, walked in here, but there's no guarantee he's not walking in behind you or something like this. So it's a much better thing. So he talks about the victim. He looked up for maybe half a second there, but this is actually a cryo room. This is where they actually put people to sleep, basically.
Yeah, you can see that sort of coffins later on, but yeah, that's basically where the slavers kind of kidnap people.
That was not very good sneaking. They're already shooting at him.
And put them on ice and then go sell them.
To the Banu.
To the Banu, in this case, yeah.
Because slavery's perfectly fine for the Banu.
So yeah, here's the guy who I think is doing it right there. You get a very brief glimpse of it, but...
Yeah, no, unfortunately this was, I think if...
it was really
Sean was playing this, we would play it as not as good FPS players. This is like someone going, okay, I'm going to take everyone out right away. But we would probably spend a bit more time showing off the various.
Sure, yeah, he's playing it like he's playing
bullet
competitively.
rain, blind fire.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's not dolphin diving or anything yet, but I'm sure he'll get there. Bunny hoppins. But yeah, that's a very, very quick bit of combat here. And like Chris is saying, the AI is still getting worked on. A lot of it is like readability sort of things. So like those guys should be yelling out from behind cover, I'm in cover, or reloading, or he's moving out to the right.
Well, they actually do have some of that.
Yeah, some of it.
They get killed within about 2 seconds.
Yeah. Commentary.
Yeah, there's some of the poor victims. You throw some beer in there.
Well,
too.
if you complete Squadron 42, you have like veteran status. So yeah, it could be that you're start out the game a little bit differently in Star Citizen.
If you went there, you look at it, you'd say something, or you can Trejo's.
I love this music.
And, later on, once you've rescued Trejo, you go and sort of clear out all the slavers, and she helps you, and she has a lot of comments on everything as it comes along.
So this is showing off another sort of traverse approach, where he was in combat. He went into one of these closets and then saw there was a vent down there that he could jump down, and if you've got too many AI guys coming at you or something like that.
Yeah,
so
well,
this,
that's in this particular.
For some reason, the lighting in this section always looks amazing to me, and I'm not sure why. It's not global illumination or anything. It just looks really good for some reason. Guess it's all the fog.
kind of Solid Snake aspect of
Yeah,
things.
very. And the environment team, man, spared no expense down here. This is just
It was dirty.
phenomenal work.
For some reason, he doesn't hear this.
They just like to pump fog into their pirate base.
Just listen to music.
Love that ambiance.
For the purpose of our demo, he doesn't listen to the door open behind him. But in the final game, he definitely would be going, huh, what's that? There's a whole bunch of,
You like the music in the recent video?
kind of,
Nice.
Again, like I said,
It was a fun video.
Kind of Solid Snakey style. Oh, there's something over there, is not.
Yeah.
And we want to have a fair amount of stealth and tactical aspects to it. And here, I can't remember if you can see quite there, but that actually is a mirror, and you can see us in the mirror. And here's Trejo.
A little worse for wear.
Yeah, Eleanor Tomlinson is the actress, and she's great, and she's actually a fun role. There's a bunch of stuff with her before.
Yeah.
In the story, so because she's the advocacy agent in charge of the Odin.
Memory is late.
And you go to see her on Fortune's Cross when you first get into the system, and she gives you some leads on various.
Yeah,
folks.
she's sort of. You guys have a bit of a contentious relationship.
I'd like to note for any prospective game directors too. That's a horrible pose to make a game character do. It's so hard to do that one right. We had to work on that a lot, get rid of the chicken wings under the arms and all this kind of stuff. But
it was fun to
try
note
not to hang
that,
them up.
I did notice everyone in the chat said "say no."
Say no. I was just about to say that. Yeah, they were
That's
being
'cause
very
people are
stingy
evil.
about their meds.
You guys, Trejo's a good girl. She's nice.
She needs help, guys.
Nah, she's a badass too.
Oh yeah, she wrecks dudes.
I found Trejo. We're on the move.
And again, this is using that sort of cinematic cutaway, but you could be in your point of view and you'd still see her all doing all this sort of stuff. But we'd much rather movie moments.
All right, so that's it for this. That was our 2017 update. We got a couple of small updates in the form of it didn't feel like there was much going on with Squadron 42 after that in the years following, but if you do go and search on their YouTube page, where is this? And you just search for Squadron 42, there are actually quite a few around the verse. This is the old version of Inside Star Citizen, but around the verse got released quite a few times before, and they would have some pretty decent insight into the game's development, and that went on for a few years. You can see one here. Squadron 42 around the verse. Here's another one, strengthening the core tech, bringing gameplay to life. So there were like several of them if you want to go find them. And then they did the monthly reports as well. They actually have a playlist for it here, so you can see all that stuff here. But we're not going to get too caught up on that. Instead, we're going to jump to the next year when they started their marketing campaign. Believe it or not, they started a marketing campaign. It's for Squadron 42. Actually, even included Mark Hamill himself making a tweet. God, Twitter is so miserable to use now. There are ads everywhere. Trying to load these replies, I had to just keep hitting show more replies, scroll down, show more replies, scroll down, show more replies, scroll down. Like, this website's miserable now. But anyways, they released a 2018 trailer. Mark Hamill teased it. There was plenty of hubbub surrounding it. It got people hyped for what reason? We don't know. But I will show you what the trailer looks like, because it is pretty cool.
I saw you apply to the Flight Academy again.
I'm your new wingman, sir.
The coil. Local scum use it for cover to launch attacks.
Not gonna lie, the visuals and sound design of this trailer, and just like space stuff like this in general, that's how you get me. So like this trailer was a win for me. I think maybe the timing was a bit off. They could have done it a couple years later as like a good teaser to put it on people's radar. This would have made sense if the game was coming out 2 years later, but clearly it wasn't. I know they scheduled it for that to happen, and that might be why they released this video, but I love this trailer. Doesn't tell you a ton, but it's very exciting.
This is their turf, so move on. Keep your eyes open.
No sudden moves.
Who the hell are you?
We're OMC. And OMC belongs to Sato Khan.
Is that your boss? Are we supposed to be scared of him or something?
Yeah.
The OMC aren't the only ones listening into comms.
All ships, we're under attack by Vandal forces. Repeat, we are under attack.
There have been battles. There have been losses. Each and every one of you has proven yourself time and again. We will not lose the system. We will not fall back.
Form up, Cal. You got point. Copy that. Tally's on me. Let's say aye.
We will win. Because we have to.
Gary was sounding a little bit better in that one. Good for him. Got to clear his throat or whatever. So that was the 2018 trailer on this. Clearly they are really sticking strong to that military focus. Like they're very stuck on your military, you're in this ship, you're fighting a campaign, you're not exploring. If you want to do exploration, Squadron 42 is not your kind of game. Now the next year, was this the next year? I believe this was the next year. People were still kind of like, what's going on with this game? I think it was around this time they were trying to schedule the beta for Squadron 42 for 2020. So this was kind of like another visual teaser, but I don't know if they really knew what was happening exactly at this point. Either, like, it's hard for me to remember, to be honest, because I was paying way more attention to Star Citizen, but the context is important here because there was a lot of there was just a lot of questions in the air as to what the state of Squadron 42 actually was around this time, and they were being very cagey about it. Wart. What's up, Abdi? This is a really cool trailer as well, though. Somebody had actually just said this was their favorite video, so you get to see a lot of cool assets in this one. I believe I'll get a copyright warning for this one. What's up, Crouch? Thank you for the raid, dude. Come check out some Squadron 42 footage with us. Like the thing I think is most important to note here is the visual quality. Actually, you let me know. Do you guys think that the video quality or the visual quality and graphics improved from that gameplay demo we just watched to this over those 2 years, or do you think this looks basically the same? shoot, it's Roken. Hey, bro. How's it going, man? Look at you with the founder's badge. What's up, dude? This is a single player game. It's not out yet. This is looking like it could come out at the end of next year, but nobody really knows, as always. Models look so much better than the Vandal models we have in game right now. Like, that doesn't even look like the Scythe. I mean, it kind of does, but it looks so much better. Some pirate ships. These are kind of kit-bashed ships. Yeah, the stream isn't helping this. Now, honestly, it doesn't even look very good on my end even. But you can see this is like a Mustang with a lot of custom work done on it. And this is a Cutlass with a lot of work done on it. I actually like it without the front fins. I think those are the ugliest parts of the Cutlass. So that was the visual teaser from 2019. Kind of gave us an updated idea of what they were doing with the graphics there. And then they brought us this. Let's see. This was the briefing room. We're not going to do the briefing room. We're going to do... No, this is the briefing room introduction. We want this one. So this was another showcase they did. This was a year later. This was after they missed their beta date. But they were, at this point, they were like, okay, we are messing up with Squadron 42, so we're going to start releasing these videos to tell you actually what's going on with it. And they did it for one episode, I think. I think it was maybe 1 or 2 episodes that they did this for. But this one, we did get to see one of the main locations in the game, so I'll give you guys a little look at that. We're going to skip around this video because it's like an hour and 18 minutes long, but you'll get an idea of one of the FPS locations that they're doing. Again, this isn't necessarily gameplay. This is more of a location just giving us a better idea of how that's working. They've been developing this game for about 10 years now. It ended quickly, yeah. It was
From the very start, Chris's remit was he wanted
particular kind of thing.
The whole focus, obviously, is just on maximum immersion.
Right. This was their, like, we feel bad, we keep missing our dates, we're going to give you guys regular updates, and then they didn't. Which they did with the Road to 4.0 videos this last year, too. Just...
A lot of assets are kind of unique, and locations are unique. Everything really is different.
I think that was the first time we've seen a globe
A lot of
map.
assets are kind of...
I don't know if this is real or not, but we don't really get to see these maps actually functioning. Looks kind of gibberish anyways.
And locations are unique. Everything really is different.
Welcome to the briefing room, a show fully focused on Squadron 42. I'm Brian Chambers, the VP of Development here at CIG, and today I'm joined by Nick and Ross.
Thank
so
you.
welcome, guys.
I get
Good
a
to
free
have you
hush
on the
puppy
call.
early.
Can you guys introduce yourself to everyone?
Sure, yep. I'm Nick Elms, and I'm the creative director on Squadron 42.
And I'm Ross Wilding. I'm the lead level designer on Squadron 42.
For those that don't know, and because it's a little complex on the design side, can you give a high level breakdown of the design team and how that's made up for Squadron?
The Squadron 42 design team split into three, actually. It's three teams that work very closely with each other. First being Ross's team, the FPS team, which works predominantly on the ground and gravity base areas where combat and exploration are a focus.
All the
Then we've got
all the pew
Yes.
Well, let's talk about the development time. So, it's a good question. Like, asking how long they've developed the game, you have to say 10 years. They started this in 2013, right? 2012, whatever it is. And a lot like other games, Beyond Good and Evil 2, Mass Effect Andromeda, Anthem, Cyberpunk 2077, Starfield probably. They likely ran into some hiccups and had to reboot the development, had to take a huge loss in some of the code work or something. Like, there are setbacks in a lot of these games. A game could be like, oh yeah, we took 5 years to make this game, whereas 2 of those years were building the team, figuring out ideas and concepts, and then 3 of those years were actually making the game. I don't think they spent 10 years just working on this, right? They got to 2015, they decided on doing planetary tech, they refactored some stuff. They got to like 2018 and realized they wanted to do something more fancy, they refactored some stuff. I don't know exactly when things happened, but clearly they weren't just working on this straight for 10 years. They had some pretty major setbacks, probably a little bit of trouble with management and getting together the whole scale of things back in like 2014, 2015 time. Overall, I think you can never just point at a game and say how long it took or how many dollars it took, because there's so much context to be done, which is why I really, really like the YouTube channel NoClip. If you guys haven't heard of NoClip, please support them. Please watch their videos. I always worry that they're not going to be able to keep making videos, but they make really, really good game development documentaries, and they talk about a lot of the games we love, like Half-Life, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Dishonored, like really big franchises. They go and they do interviews, they get into the development studio, they talk about what it takes to make these games, and you'd be surprised at how often the stories are actually kind of similar to what we saw with Squadron. Maybe on a smaller scale, but a lot of good insight. So check them out if you haven't.
That's all the pew pew stuff is down to Ross.
Cool.
The flight team work on the sort of space sections of the game, as you might expect. That includes like dogfighting, exploration, landing, takeoff, all those kind of stuff. Obviously working very closely with the various AI feature teams as well. And then finally, we've got the social team, and they're kind of the glue for all the narrative elements of the game. Building the interactive experience, presenting it to the player cinematically with focus on maximum immersion, as as Chris has sort of called out.
Skip forward to the interesting part. Here we go. All right, come on then.
Regular syncs with the art guys, obviously. The designers work sort of very closely with the art team.
Yeah, and the again, like the lighting plays a huge part. Like, so in some cases,
A lot of this stuff is done before early access, which is what makes this a lot different.
Detail in the final version, it's just a lot of it is kind of done with lighting as well, which makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So something you can kind of see in like the second half of this video actually is that not all locations are kind of like as true to the block out in the final version. And part of this is because for one reason or another, as we've kind of tested stuff, we've just felt that it wasn't quite right, and we've wanted to kind of change it and address certain features. So you can see here, for example, the initial block out space was quite wide, and we wanted to kind of funnel the player and try and encourage them a little bit less to use this main route and perhaps use more of a kind of stealthy approach if they wanted to enter this space, which we're kind of moving into now. And again, you can kind of see that this space is quite claustrophobic, quite mechanical heavy, and then in the final version we've opened it up to kind of have like
hey, Dreddy Jones and Adams, thank you both for the subs. I appreciate you.
I know it's an iterative process, but it's
Orion
about
Star,
getting in and reviewing
you're gonna
it
have
and
to explain
understanding
more
what
of
the
your
goals
theory
are,
than that.
looking at the architecture and the mood and the lighting and all those things.
Do you have anything more for me than SC is a scam? Come on. I don't want to time you out for spam. Give me something good. Give me a conversation.
Together?
Yeah, basically. I mean, that's a large combination of it. And in some cases, as I said, it's kind of gameplay driven, and the fact that it's like, oh, well, this doesn't actually work for what we hoped, in which case we'll go in and we'll change it. And in other cases, it's just we've blocked something out. And
what's up, Corbin?
Like, again, when we're
I'm good. How you doing?
Early on, like the art guys have gone in there, they've obviously got a lot more reference material and stuff. So there'll be some cases where like a shape just doesn't quite work for a believable space, and in those cases, we.
All right, let's jump forward to them actually going throughout this area. So you might recognize this as one of the places they showed recently in some of the CitizenCon videos.
Now, the petals are kind of like tucked into each other.
Just watching an update on Squadron from 2020.
Wait, are we going in live?
We're going in live, yeah.
We're going in live. Okay. Hold on, Nick.
Anything could happen.
No, that's cool.
So,
it's awesome.
So one of the things before I actually drop into the actual lower levels is I wanted to kind of show a little bit of the on the top of the dish essentially. So something we'll kind of get into in a little bit in a minute is a lot of the entrances, or most of the entrances we've kind of designed, are on the underside of the dish, and this was a kind of conscious choice that we made because I believe in the blockout video we showed slightly earlier, we actually had like this crow's nest, for example, with a hidden entrance in the top that would allow you to come down. But we felt it was just a little bit too obscure and a little bit out of the way, so we basically removed it and kind of changed that location. But something that's really kind of cool in this location is basically you could actually get out of your ship at this point. You could obviously EVA up close to these windows, and you would actually see like the AI kind of walking around in here, and you could kind of like move around, plot kind of where some of these enemies are, and then just basically figure
Yeah, I
out
think we'll hear something Squadron at CitizenCon this year. I think if we don't, it's going to be a very, very bad time.
Try a little happy face if it's foggy outside, you know?
Yep.
Yeah. Just breathe on the glass and then dive because you realise you've not got your helmet on. So the main kind of aspect of this is the underside essentially of
Gonna go inside. Can't type
Still
that
kind of
deep. If is Discord typing hurts, hey man, jump onto our Discord server. Come give me an explanation as to why Star Citizen is a scam. I'd love to hear your well thought out theories on that.
the process of doing is kind of adding dressing to some of these elements, so you can kind of see like we will be kind of
Exclamation point Discord if you want to get access to that.
adding more kind of elements into these rooms and spaces, and part of that is something that will change and it will be an ongoing process, very close until release. And that's because basically we'll be in here, we'll obviously be working, we'll have AI like running around and going into combat, and we want to
Sitcon's never been 2 days before now.
a nice kind of level between these.
This is all traversable by the player right now, yeah?
Yeah, so like I said, this is obviously an editor, so if I hit Control G, for example, I'm actually in game now. So again,
I take it you've switched the AI layer off, so we're not into a world of chaos.
yeah,
Halo
so,
gunfire,
so right now this is just kind of like it as it's kind of intended, like from a visual and artistic standpoint. Obviously the level is fully traversable, doors all work and everything. So if I come down here,
God, it is hot in here. I'm so freaking sweaty.
But one of the things, is that we're obviously kind of AI is an ongoing process, and you know, like obviously live demoing at this point, like anything could happen. So just trying to save ourselves a little bit of pain right now from showing too much.
You could tell that you can tell that they wanted to show something off in Squadron 42, and they wanted to just do as a minimum of sharing about story or factions or characters or anything as possible. So they were like, let's just remove everything from this station and walk around it. Which, you know, made this not a very interesting update, to be honest, which is why I'm kind of jumping around it. We're just seeing the environment early and what they did to make it. We'll jump forward to something a little more interesting in a bit.
A football team or whatever. If they know you, they'll
I don't know what headset that
it
is. Cool.
And, take sort of ambush places and things like that. So the whole focus is on the AI being believable in these spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, and that's something we'll kind of cover actually in a little bit when we talk a little bit more about the plans for the AI and stuff. But here we can actually see the gravity room, and this is basically the gravity drive that's essentially kind of powering all the gravity inside the station. And
it is a cool environment.
When we're kind of talking about like interactions and stuff as well, this is quite cool because if we come into here, we can actually come to like.
Wasn't there a cinematic short? Yeah, that's what we just watched actually. It had some of the video from this.
Kind of controls a lot of the power elements.
Why did they decide to add another game before they dropped the main one? Was it a community requested thing? This was part of the Kickstarter. So when they launched the Star Citizen project, it was a single-player campaign and an MMO. This is the single-player campaign. Star Citizen is just the MMO side of it.
And kind of fly down. You can actually see that this is the kind of secret crow's nest that I was talking about earlier. So if players were to kind of sneak in this way, they can actually get like a kind of quick early access to these sections, basically. And again, if a player comes up to some of these locations and doesn't think or doesn't want to try and interact with these terminals, that's totally up to them, and that's will affect their experience. But for somebody who wants to kind of
not necessarily open world, not like you're going to be exploring around. Like if you want an open world space game, Starfield is going to be a better choice. This is going to be more about running a military campaign.
Oxygen levels and so on. So that's a potential maybe.
That's cool. That opens up so many different avenues as far as how you approach things, and again, as I was saying earlier, cause and effect, right?
Exactly.
Present these play spaces, for the players, and they can sort solve almost all of them in any way they want to within the sort of environment, within the sort of systems and tools that.
See if they have any AI gameplay here.
Say in Zone 1 you kind of approach this character and they spot you and they're an enemy. They would probably obviously alert their teammates.
Yeah, you'll be running missions and stuff in this game.
These three guys would kind of move over and kind of support them in combat, and suddenly the player is like 1 versus 4, for example.
You'd be my second in command to play Starfield.
Is everyone in the station to run to this point.
Absolutely. Come join.
And that is for obvious reasons.
Although it's single players, so
I mean, aside from
I don't know how that works.
Like it's just not realistic. Like if something was to happen somewhere, like more often than not, like if there's security on a certain location, you would expect a couple of guys to go and check it out, as opposed to the whole force to kind of go and check a certain area and then leave the rest of the station exposed, basically.
Could it ever get elevated though that Zone 1's trying to handle it, and then just for proximity, Zone 4, could Zone 4 or Zone 3 join in, right? If it gets a certain amount of craziness.
Orion Star, just post your theory in the SC chat. I'll be sure to see it.
And those audible cues,
Or somebody else might be able to chime in as well.
But what might be nice, for example, is if, say, again, you're in here, you kind of fight these guys, and they're down to the last man, and he's kind of on his own, and he's struggling. Maybe he radios for support, and then in that case, we could say the nearest kind of next zone, he's basically requesting help. And then something else which we've not kind of decided yet for this location, for example, but something we may do in other locations is, if an enemy or a group of enemies are struggling, perhaps they call in like dropship support, and then an extra wave.
I hope my grandkids love this game. How freaking awesome would it be to like? We talked about that a couple days ago, actually. How awesome would it be to be able to play a game, love a game, and then your grandkids can also love that same game? Because games just last that long now. I know that happens with some games, like I don't know. I guess some of the classics, definitely your grandkids would still be playing it, even if you had started playing it. But like, I think I'm probably going to introduce my kids to Deus Ex at some point. And I hope that happens for a game like Star Citizen. That would be amazing.
Make things more difficult for the player. So
Tetris, Pac-Man, Zelda's, Final Fantasy. Yeah. See, how cool is that? That it can just like transcend entire generations.
Yeah, screen.
You can't really get that. You don't get that as much when it comes to like movies and TV shows. I guess TV shows, those things come up. I just feel like games are interactive enough that if it's timeless, one generation could play it and still enjoy it as much as somebody else who played it 20 years prior. It happens with all types of art, though. So what am I talking about? He's just playing Zelda and loving it. That's so cool, dude. I love that stuff.
Is completely
Video games for the win!
Lieutenant, congrats on the big first mission. Exciting stuff. Lieutenant,
Yeah.
you alright?
Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica.
Right. Where was I? It must be great to finally feel like a real pilot. And not that you weren't a real pilot before, but now you've actually done something without blowing up.
Oh, this is actually... Okay, so we were talking about this. This is like an improved version of what we were looking at, what was that, like an hour ago? I think they run through this like 4 or 5 different times, so we won't watch all of them, but it does look better, I think. I might be biased.
Yeah, the entire face completely rebuilt after.
Is it a bad face animation?
Apparently the lieutenant looked completely different before Vega. Lieutenant, congrats on the big first mission. Exciting stuff. It must be great to finally feel like a real pilot. And not that you weren't a real pilot before, but now you've actually done something without, well, blowing up. Speaking of pilots, did you hear what happened to Ishitaka last year? So, we were posted out in some backwater system. Oh, I forget which one. Maybe next. Anyway, we decided to go out drinking at this dumper of a trade station. A real dump. Ishitaka is completely...
It's too loud, engineer. Speak up.
Decides her face could do with a bit of an upgrade. Wakes up the next morning with a nose like the front of Freelancer. Lieutenant, you alright?
Man, more like you'll have kids before this game comes out? Yeah, but imagine if you have kids before this game comes out and then they can still grow up and play it.
Never mind, I guess.
You can have fun being scammed as long as you aren't putting money in without getting content back. That's, I think, the big thing that keeps this game going. Honestly, people get very confused why people still follow Star Citizen without realizing that people are getting 4 updates a year. And, like, constant events and community meetings and, like, there's, like, the game's in development, but the community acts like the game already exists. So you just get a ton out of being a part of the community already. I don't think it's for everybody, but people tend to miss how much content people are getting while waiting for all of this. How much does it cost for 4 updates a year? You just pay $45 initially, and then you never have to pay any money again. This is a one-time purchase kind of game. There's no subscription or anything like that. Woody Bear, thanks for the membership, dude. Sliced bread was invented a year after the invention of TV. Until next time. Thank you. And my grandkids get to enjoy sliced bread. Why do you get so many haters and negativity in your streams? It's just what happens when you talk about the development. I'm talking about Squadron 42. I mean, this is a lightning rod for criticism. Even I don't think Squadron has done a very good job at, you know, keeping themselves, making a good name for themselves, so.
Vega. Lieutenant, congrats on the big first mission. Exciting stuff. It must be great to finally feel like a real pilot. And not that you weren't a real pilot before, but now you've actually done something without, well, blowing up. Speaking of pilots, did you hear what happened to Ishitaka last year? So, we were posted out in some backwater system. Oh, I forget which one. Maybe next. Anyway.
You wish it was a subscription?
Dumper of a trade station.
So that the servers will be kept running?
Completely ripped. I mean, she's totaled. Decides her face could do with a bit of an upgrade. Wakes up the next morning with a nose like the front of Freelancer. Dog said she couldn't fix it. Said she wouldn't fix something that isn't broken. Lieutenant.
All right, let's see how they finish this off. Doesn't matter how long it lasts, but it would be cool to see it last a long time. Oh, this is kind of a cinematic show, I think, of the whole level. Let me go to the beginning of this for you guys. Wow, looks like they show a lot. It's strung out too long. I think they're feeling the same way. Have you seen these guys talk on camera? They look like they just want to release this game and go on vacation for a couple years. Hey, can you load for me, YouTube? Come on. Making everybody wait. We're not in the business of waiting here. Wait, yes, we are. It's been 10 years. Never mind, YouTube. You keep doing you. We're good. We've got patience. There we go. So this is, I think, just like a little showcase of the location. Once we go through this, we'll jump to the next. I don't think they'll need to move to subscription funding. I think they just need to get better at cosmetics and stuff. Oh, this is what you were talking about. Okay. Forgot about this. Do I know how to remove the QR code from the top right of the screen on Star Citizen? It should be in your general settings. You should be able to take that off. Yeah, you can sub that. The sub stuff, if you sub right now, doesn't go to development. It goes to their productions and stuff. CitizenCon and ISC and SCL and stuff like that. Oh, it's under graphics setting. Thank you. Hey, here's the servers that Star Citizen's running on. No matter they don't work very well, nobody's here to service them. Also, look at all that moisture in the air. Yeah, they do have a submodel in place. We know where it really goes. To the yachts. That's what I heard. Might recognize this from CitizenCon last year. They showed off some AI stuff in this place. AI and EVA traversal updates. So I guess this is going to be one of the major locations of the game. This and that last place we saw, Chemline. That was the ground location with the pirates. There won't be any Squadron 42 announcements this year. You have that on good authority? The EVA looked really good. You just got a report that we're out of eggs for... Bro, there's no eggs for breakfast? Screw this. I'm done. No, I'm kidding. We can keep going. It's fine. It's fine. I'll get over it. I hope that you can find some eggs. I'll be okay. Let's get back to it. It's a good time to get into the game. You mean Star Citizen? I would probably wait. I mean, it depends on who you are. The game is running better than it was a couple months ago, and you could get a lot of fun out of it. Depends on what you're looking for, though. Who actually believes this will be out within 2 years? I think it could be. 2 years from now? By 2025? Yeah, I think that could happen. Wizard, they did say something like that, I believe. I don't know what ships they were talking about. Maybe large ships, capital ships. I'm not sure. If you bet on Squadron 42 release date, you will always lose. Always. All right. There's your poll, Rukin. Yeah, if you really want to try this game and see what it's like, the game becomes free to play every few months, I would say. You get about a week of free play time where you can get access to basically anything in the game. Those are good times to try it out without spending any money. How much lore have I retained from the research I've done? I have no idea. I'm not the lore guy. If you want good solid lore, I'd go to Astropub. I know the lore, but I know the features and the development better than that. Memory, thanks for the Prime sub, dude. Really appreciate the support. Haven't we been here? These look like cooling racks. New player for a month and you're loving it, but yeah, you understand why it's not for everyone. Personally, you didn't have a good enough PC until now. Neither did I. That's why I didn't really stream gameplay up until this year. I just didn't have a PC that could run it that well. People are believing next year because there are actually some decent signs that next year could be a possibility. For one thing, they did remove the game from the store. So there is the belief that they're getting ready to drop it again as an actual game. Because as of right now, I think you could pick it up for $15 as an additional add-on on Star Citizen. So I think they pulled it from the store, and people are theorizing that they're getting ready to launch it as an actual pre-order at some time later in the year with some sort of announcement. That, again, is just a theory. But there's also the fact that you can watch the development of this game through Star Citizen and kind of see the stuff that they're finalizing. Flight model, FPS combat, scanning, AI systems all seem like they're kind of becoming a little bit more of into the polishing phase. So their updates and the progress reports that they're giving on this game do give the sense that it's actually fairly close, and that's why a lot of people are thinking next year. And there was like a leak last year when somebody got drunk and said 2 years. But you never know. It's always 2 years. Was it $20 add-on? Everyone looking forward to Squadron 42 already owns it. Well, that's the whole point of marketing, to introduce it to people who don't know about it yet. There is an absolute ton of people who have bought Star Citizen and don't even know Squadron exists. Any updates that suggest hacking will be in Squadron? They haven't... I don't know. Major development in Squadron's been ongoing. Why spend money on marketing before the game is out? Starfield's not out yet. That's like saying, why advertise a movie before it comes out? You want people to get it when it comes out, not after. Corbin, that's a good question. When the project was entirely focused. I don't know. All right, yay! I don't know what exactly that gave us. We got to see a location in a lot of detail, which is good fun. And then we got this talk. This was, let's see. Yeah, so this would be it. Because this was all extra stuff we were looking at. So this was the talk that we saw last year, and this was kind of what, this is what we'll finish off on. I'm going to skip through it a little bit, just show you guys the big bits, but this is some of the polish that they've been giving to the more player-focused systems that are more important to Squadron 42, and they kind of show what direction they're headed or what stage they're at when it comes to the actual gameplay that they're doing now. This conversation was incredibly long in the tooth, so let me find a spot where they're actually talking about that.
Of Squadron to allow us to really.
It's already also really quiet.
Polish and make sure the features work well.
No, I'm not going to show leaked footage.
Caught up in the sort of quarterly release cycle that you have on the PU, because we were finding it was hard for us to really.
Let's see. I'm going to get to the gameplay part. If you have the funding of a AAA game yet no release, you'd think they'd spend money on completing the game instead of marketing. That was where your mind went. The marketing money isn't the development money. So they actually got a separate investment for marketing that is earmarked for that. So they're not pulling away from the development funds for that marketing. But at the same time, this on its own is marketing.
Taking some of
these kinds of things get people to continue to spend money, which is funding the game. So if they don't do the marketing, people don't really spend the money. It doesn't fund the game because they don't have an investor. They're not getting money from a publisher to make this game happen. They're basically still getting money just from people buying stuff. So they have to keep pumping out information and marketing the game in order for people to feel interested in buying. This, again, though, is the development that comes from those subscriptions we were talking about earlier. So people can choose to subscribe optionally to the development, and that stuff is what goes towards these productions, and instead of the development money. At least that's what they say.
Really just making them work well for Squadron, and then bam, they're going to come across into the PU. Another good example, which hasn't been talked today very much by the vehicle side of the Need for Speed, but you probably saw, in the different modes, there needs to be more stuff on the HUD, and we've got a whole redesign that's happening on the HUD and the MFDs that's going to be very different than what you have now. First of all, it's using universal building blocks instead of what some of the legacy stuff has in Flash, but it's going to be much more minimalist depending on what your context is. It's going to be, depending on what equipment you have, you may be able to cast some stuff to your visor, maybe not. And we're building this system to work well in all the ships you use in Squadron, and then it will get rolled out to the PU, which has obviously much wider range ships. But as we're designing
Give what
it,
to
we're
Concierge.
building it with both Squadron and the PU in mind. And so there's a lot of things, people have talked about the star map forever.
Yes, fix it.
So that has definitely been a major...
That pisses me off, honestly, that they didn't show the star map during this talk. They're really freaking mum on the star map.
There's right now, I think, 3 engineers, a couple of visualists on it that we're really sort of working to make, the new star map, which people haven't had. It's been in development yet. We're not quite ready to show you today, but that is going to be a much...
Oh, also, the marketing that I was talking about earlier is the marketing that they're going to do after the game is complete. So they want to finish the game and then finish development, and then probably, if it goes how we want it to, next year or late this year, start a marketing push, because the game development's been done. Now it's time to get it in front of people to launch. So the game, if it's launching next year, would be mostly complete at this point, and it would make sense to start the marketing at some point in the next year and a half or so.
Improved experience, but all of it, so navigation.
I think they'll show the star map at SitCon, yeah, because I think it's going to be a 4.0 feature.
All things that we're really focusing on here to bring across into the PU after we've got it working really well in Squadron. And so I think ultimately it's going to be good for the PU, and a lot of things are going to sort of come together over the next couple of years. Yeah, we're pretty excited. So we wanted to visit you and talk a little bit about it.
I think there is two.
So he just spent a lot of time basically explaining how these features are being made for Squadron. So Squadron 42 will probably release while we're still playing Star Citizen with outdated systems because of that. Maybe not all of them, but our gameplay won't be as polished as Squadron when that game comes out.
The side of things, which is then it's a more of a proactive tool of you looking through the environment and finding what you want.
We haven't looked at any of this stuff yet.
Absolutely.
Videos of those.
So I understand we have 2 videos. What's this first one we're going to look at?
So the first one is more kind of showing what I described with radar scanning, that first aspect. So you're going into a space, you're doing a quick scan wave, and then it's quickly showing you up the little bits that you can interact with.
All right, let's take a look at.
So like the economy, hiring NPCs, even engineering to an extent aren't going to be things they need for Squadron. So when we talk about Squadron 42 features, we're talking about FPS combat, AI logic, healing gameplay, scanning, mission systems, that kind of stuff. Less of the salvage and engineering and like sort of things we would like for Star Citizen. I think a lot of stuff they showed for last year will come with 4.0. That's what it seems like they're getting at.
So you can see here, this is in Asiado, which we've already showcased.
Yeah, so Squadron would be out before that stuff.
New building blocks UI for the doors. And then here's a scan wave, and you can see that I'm looking at that data pad. And
so like this would be something, that's why this looks better than what we have in game, because the scanning is something they definitely need for Squadron as opposed to, say, farming, which... How funny would that be? There's just like a farming mini game in the Squadron 42 home carrier or something.
Around, and it's giving me that information. So right now, it's just giving you the basic.
Plant your apples, soldier.
In terms of the names of things, but you will also have more detailed information depending on, contextually what the item is. And what you're seeing here is.
Oh, I think everybody's going to stream this game when it's ready. Everybody who's doing Star Citizen stuff.
That you can interact with. But you're getting confidence of, oh, cool, I can grab that, or I can use.
Because this would be the first example of what we can expect from a finished Star Citizen, right?
Data pad, and you're not having to go into interact mode. You're not having to be driven by the cursor. You can go in and just press F.
Yeah, I think for engineering they probably just need like.
AAA games, but they don't have the detail and scale that we.
For engineering, the main thing is making sure that the systems work in the ships that you need, right? So all they have to do is get the first version working and then make sure that engineering works in the Gladius, the Retaliator, the Hornet, and what other ships we use in Squadron. Not everything across the board.
You're on it when it says grab, or I think there's a few other ones that you can be.
Why are they so quiet?
But the icon, if you just had a single disc with that wasn't broken, then that would mean there's only one thing you can do with it. In a lot of those cases, you could see there was a broken disc in 4 pieces, which was basically saying that's a multi-action. So as you look at it, if, for instance, in that case, if you hit F, it does the default action. If you held F, it would bring up the modular wheel.
A radial menu?
Show you the other.
I don't know. Was it a radial menu that it would bring up?
I wanted to make sure that system is really robust, but hopefully it gives you kind of an idea of.
And I'd also say that like part of the idea is that there's the default action, which in this case is what you see when you're on it when it says grab, or I think there's a few other ones.
I want to see the menu.
That, or I can use the things that you can interact with, but you're getting confidence of, oh, cool, I can grab that, or I can use the data pad, and you're not having to go into interact mode. You're not having to be driven by the cursor.
They don't show it.
Go in and.
I think it just
bummer.
Thing you can do with it. In a lot of those cases, it would bring up.
There are creators out there that are only interested in the MMO.
Show you the other actions, so you could.
People might skip it, but I think it's still going to be pretty interesting to get an idea of how it feels to play this.
Like you can do in like.
Give a Squadron 42 package to Concierge? I don't know.
Even console games, you walk around, you look around. Oh, look, I can extra do something with it, right? So there's a bit of that's happening here. So you can just look around, and I can interact without having to hold F. Move your mouse around and all the rest of stuff. I mean, we'll still have playing games.
Okay. Next one. Next video, please.
But let's say you're harvesting harvestables, and you want, the default action is that it picks it up and puts it into your hand, but you want it to be.
Dang.
So, having played lots of levels.
Definitely, because in Squadron, we're trying to have a certain amount of realism. So
I don't think they'll move 100% of their people into Star
so
Citizen.
We want you, when you're in situations, you're outnumbered, and you have to, it's more of a stealth game in the FPS than it is a straight out run and gun shooter.
Bring it to the point of realism, then bring it back to the point of fun, as you said.
Well, there's a lot of fun stealth games.
All right, so I want to see this clip. I haven't seen it yet. Let's roll FPS 2.
So what you're seeing here
This is just scanning gameplay.
Do a scan wave in a moment. Essentially, what you'll see is that it's now penetrating through the walls, and now you can start to see the slavers that are in this environment. Now, these slavers don't necessarily have a radar scanner, so they're not able to pick you up. So what will happen is when you do a scan wave or a charge scan wave, your signatures will basically skyrocket. So that's what will give you away to other people. So in the PvP environment, you're only getting, it's a big risk. If you want to do it, but you're giving away your location. So if you're willing to do that, then so be it. But in a more of a PvE environment, what we're going to do is we're going to have tailored. Some enemies will have radar and scanning, and some won't. So if they do, then they'll be like, hey, I've just been pinged, and they'll get your location, and then they'll go and investigate. So what you're seeing here, on that video is kind of a more wider, broader area and seeing through the walls, whereas the first one is kind of a more limited scope. And you can, it's up to the player to choose which one they want to do. The first one is really more about just, we want to encourage the player to go into an environment and go, okay, cool, I'm in this room. What things do I have to interact with? And then the second one is more of a wider scope, like said. When we're playing our stealth levels, you need to have kind of a good understanding of where they are, and it's only temporary, and you will have a cooldown on that charge scan wave, so you're not just going to be able to spam it there forever. It's like you get a temporary picture.
All right, well, let's move forward to the EVA. No, this is the platforming gameplay. So this is another area where obviously Star Citizen has struggled a lot when it comes to platforming.
Test map.
And so they're showing just kind of, this is again the polish that we're starting to see in features that will need to be in Squadron 42, because that's releasing so much sooner. Do I feel there's a sense of false advertisement when they're dumping funding into a second title instead of completing Squadron 42? Do you mean instead of completing Star Citizen? I do think that it's a little bit misleading how much of the development effort goes to Squadron 42 when most of the marketing and hype is for Star Citizen. They painted themselves into that corner, though. They have to finish Squadron 42 to fund Star Citizen. They have to sell Star Citizen in order to keep Squadron 42 funded until it's complete. It's a very weird and awkward situation they've ended up in.
There'll be much more in the final version, but we probably should
let's
run the video if we can.
All right, ladders.
So this is nothing new. It's just platforming, but for those who play Star Citizen, you know how much we've been needing this.
It's obviously a test map, but you can see here that, as Chris said, the level of inertia is still block out phase, but you can see that we're actually starting.
Oh, this might go to the PU.
Grab on.
I'm not saying this won't be in there.
Or a vault. You can go straight.
This seems like one of the things that would transfer over fairly quickly, but
here is, while this is just an test map, a lot of these are providing design ethos to then feed into the PU. So if we've got derelicts and we've got environments that we want the player to go and do missions in, we don't just necessarily just have to rely on you've only got jump.
You feel very strongly that all of their efforts should go into SC after that?
Did a jump onto halfway onto
Do you think they should just not do a second and third game?
To the left, to the right, and you can jump off the ladder at any point. You can slide down it. You can do all sorts of things.
We've got a bit of a sneak peek at the end.
Yeah, so
we're gonna find an elevator.
Didn't pledge for Squadron.
The true boss.
And we jump across.
Yeah, I get that.
On the ladder there. And again, these are all the block out animations.
This is from CitizenCon last year.
I wonder what that is. Someone accidentally put that in there.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Not until they finish SC.
But the other thing as well.
Finish initial launch, or like getting everything done with all the star systems and stuff.
See what we're looking at here.
Okay, so this is the EVA stuff. Again, another feature that needs to be polished.
One of the minor parts of that.
For their single player stuff.
You either have an EVA suit.
Are they going to try and release Squadron 1, 2, and 3 before Star Citizen? I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think so. I think they'll probably release Squadron Episode 1. Star Citizen will see increased development and likely come out into a version 1.0. and then after that we would end up seeing Squadron episode 2 and 3. But like, I'm not running this company. I have no idea, like, in terms of financials and the game market and what ends up happening after Squadron 42 episode 1 launches. I'm sure they're going to have to make a lot of calls on where the development goes in order to make enough money to complete it. So I couldn't tell you. I couldn't even make a prediction as to how they're going to do it. But I think that we will probably see a 1.0 of Star Citizen before we saw Squadron episode 2. Yeah, EVA sucks. I cannot wait for this to get updated.
What we'll have is a new one with the proper,
EVA has gotten so freaking bad in the last year.
And when you go forward, the thruster's going from the back.
So what you're actually seeing here is you've actually connected to this surface. So now it's almost like you're in a prone situation, but this is going to be what more our new prone will be. Again, you've got full 360 degrees. You can just move your mouse and you look all the way behind you or all the way in front.
And right now we're moving along here.
This does look a lot better though. I like that. I like that EVA is going to be kind of like a, you can do this, but you can also use your multi-tool. You can also use push and pull. You can float. Like, it's cool that you're going to get choices on how to traverse. It'll make for some interesting puzzles, I'm sure.
And if we wanted to at this point, we could stop and we could push off against it, and then we would just go floating out into space. So that's the sort of idea of what we call push-pull.
And so what you're seeing here...
he just pushed himself off.
So what you're seeing here, that's actually kind of, you're just floating alongside...
I think the company is big enough that Chris wouldn't be able to take a large amount of development funds just to
you in this orbit. And then if you
rub elbows with folks.
Push forward and go, where you can
this has grown to be a lot bigger than just his personal endeavor. I think that he will always have a pretty outsized influence on it, but I mean, his brother has a really, really big part in pushing the development forward when he came on. Other folks like Brian Chambers, I think, have a lot of reason to make sure that this stuff stays on course.
Developers to build EVA traversal spaces, both wide-ranging and both small scale.
So yeah, here's. I mean, we were before in first person looking around, but here's us cutting out the third person to actually show you what your character. And
yeah, I don't think chapters 2 and 3 are under work, but maybe they are.
Blockout animation.
We don't know.
So there'll be a lot more like nuance or fidelity to it, but yeah, you have a lot more control, directional sense, ability to look around, ability to stop yourself. So I think, in this one we're going to come up close to the glass above it.
Yes.
And you're actually going to see us, like, if you fly into something, you sort of arrest yourself, again, block out animation.
I'm optimistic though. Maybe he will take all the money and, I don't know, hire. Who's the biggest actor now? I don't know.
Character comes down here, player comes down here. Yep. Put our hands out to brace ourselves to stop ourselves on the glass here. So all of that's like systemic. That's not marked up or anything. It's all ray casting, seeing if things. You brace yourself when you come up against. Hold on.
We have third person. I don't know.
Against things. So we've spent a fair amount of time and engineering on all this, but it's not just for Squadron. It's going to be, it's obviously useful in some of the environments of Squadron. This is one of them, obviously, the acid aerospatial. You're going to look down on the slavers that you saw in the earlier scan. But the use.
So that's EVA stuff.
It's going to be massive.
And also the big thing that Chris said.
And then I'm going to skip that. That's not very interesting. We've got some AI improvements, I believe. No, this is the new quantum travel method, quantum boost. And this is supposed to be our ability to now point and click where we want to go in the game. We no longer have to find a destination and quantum travel there. We can just point somewhere in space, quantum boost, and do some freeform exploration. So we've been waiting a long time for this. Nice to see it coming back, but this is yet another feature that they're getting polished up for Squadron, which means we'll likely see it in Star Citizen relatively soon.
So we can see it one more time here.
So just to call out, that's going to be the old HUD.
Yeah, that is the old HUD. That's too busy.
That's the next old HUD.
Yeah.
Earlier we were showing the old HUD.
So we've done a scan here. That's also the old point of interest, because the point of interest will be just points.
Yeah.
But basically, we've done a scan. We've got some points of interest that are, multiple 10Ks away.
And you can see the distance there. It says 13,000 kilometers on the right-hand side. So this is obviously just.
This is neither a new video or 5 years old. This is about 8 months old.
Over there, and it obviously has this interactive gameplay, which obviously went into.
Yeah, and this, by the way, is that's all programmer work in progress from Yogi on.
So this is something they talked about in the monthly reports. Quantum Boost is going to require you to kind of maintain your heading while you're flying. And I'm guessing it will be more and more difficult if you're flying through things like asteroid belts or gas clouds or something like that. But this is the new short distance travel method for, you know, anywhere from 10,000 to 1,000 kilometers that people will be using to find resources and points of interest and stuff whenever you get into a new star system.
Again, you can just boost over there, and it obviously has this interactive gameplay, which obviously went into.
Yeah, and this, by the way, is that's all programmer work in progress from Yogi on the quantum boost mechanism, because
yeah, it's kind of like the pulse drive or even Super Cruise.
Fall out of boost, but we've gone over to the planet here. So what it's allowing you to do is sort of have that mid-level traversal and.
Yeah, I don't think what they're showing us here is going to be anywhere near what we're actually doing. They actually say specifically here that this is debugging.
It has this interactive gameplay, which obviously went into.
Yeah, and this, by the way, is that's all programmer work in progress from Yogi on the quantum boost mechanism.
So if it's deep work in progress, I'm guessing Yogi is going to be able to make it a little bit more interesting for players.
That will essentially become your minimap, but you'll have a more.
I don't know if they'll have OM markers.
Reduced version with you in the middle as you're moving around. But if we run it,
and then this is like a preview of what they're doing for the internal maps in the game.
So first, this is in the editor, but it's essentially what it does is it's taking our existing layouts, levels, ships, so we don't have to build this custom, but it's a way of applying certain shaders and marking up certain objects to be displayed, like the floor gets displayed but the walls don't.
I actually really like that too. Just take the ships that we have and make them look different for maps.
And then use it to be rendered for our minimap. So this is essentially in the engine using the Idris ship itself and the various parts of its interior to create the minimap without any special. This doesn't have any specific custom like UI art for it, other than some of the like level things that say, ground level or whatever.
It's one of the advantages of having high detailed ships.
For star power, they already have Henry Cavill, Andy Serkis, Mark Hamill, and many more. They do. Yeah, he's certainly rubbing his elbows. Glane, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Appreciate you being here. Thanks for the support.
We can just apply it to space station.
Yeah, because a lot of traditional game development, you have to make custom minimaps. Yeah. So you look at an environment and you go, we have to make a custom environment minimap. So if we want to support lots, tens, hundreds, and thousands of locations,
especially for the PU,
and absolutely for the PU, it's just not viable. So we wanted to come up with a solution that we can use, with minimal effort on the side of content creation, but gives us all of the information that we want. And this minimap, it's not just oh, that's where I am. It can show you objectives, it can show you other people, it can show you information about those things. And again, it's all underpinned by the radar and stuff.
Can I show you guys what the map, hold on. I want to show you what their initial previs visualizations of these maps looked like. They were so terrible compared to this. I hope I have it saved. Geez, I might not actually have it saved on here. Really? That's surprising. Huh. That's too bad. I could have sworn I had... Wait. What is this? Yeah, here we go. Apparently I recorded some work I was doing beforehand. So this was their initial previs that they had for these maps. This is not an engine or anything like that, but like just to give you an idea of how far the visual quality goes from, oh, this is what we want to do, to, okay, now that we have that ready,
so when we call it the mini,
let's actually do it.
This is just a kind of how you view your radar information in FPS. And your radar and scanner gives you so much more information than just, oh, that's the name of the door. It tells you what's the state, does it have power, can I hack it? If it's a person, what's their active status? Are they injured?
This better get announced this year, the interior maps. The mapping system as a whole, I hope, star map, interior map, radar and scanning on the FPS side, all of that stuff, I really do hope they make a significant.
Sort of, whether it's successful, they sit down and they just start up a conversation.
I hope they say this is what we're gonna do. Whether it's in 4.0, 3.20, 3.21, whatever. Give us like a date on when that kind of stuff is gonna come around, or an idea of what patch it would be in. That'd be nice.
Talking about the most recent vid show they saw, or talking about what they think the best, ship thruster is. And there's a system in for that, and we're creating a recording. But that's also a system that's going to come into the PU that's going to create a huge amount of life. So when you go into a bar in the PU, or you're wandering around the big point of interest, the cities, people will be having conversations, gossiping, talking about, I heard there was something went on, the Ninetales attacked someone in Ryerson, but it will be systemic and dynamic, which is really cool.
And it just adds so much. It just adds so much.
So let's look at some of this in action. We don't have the conversation system stuff to show today, but let's look at some of the investigation stuff, and then we'll look at some of the combat stuff you were talking about afterwards.
So we've actually got it as 2 videos. So there's the investigation in the test map, and what you're seeing here, in some respects, you might think that this is scripted, that this is something that we just put on a track. This is purely systemic. So if we captured this 20 different times, it would be 20. It would play out 20 different ways.
So those individual there is going away to hide behind that orangey boxy, whatever we want to call that color.
So that's the player.
He's going to go. This is essentially a standard for the player. The other 2 AI are searching for him at the moment. The white spheres you see are basically hiding or cover spots. And so as AI, this is a sort of debug mode, as the AI goes around and they search, the spheres go away, indicating that, okay, they've checked that place, so no one's actually there hiding out in cover. So, and they're both kind of working together. So their logic is they need to clear these rooms first, and then once the rooms are cleared, they can sort of go on.
So they share this information. So as they're clearing the cover points, and the cover points are basically all the nooks and crannies in the room, they're clearing the cover points and they're sharing together. So you'd see here that they're going, okay, this guy's coming in and go, okay, there's an open vent. Again, this is systemic. He's just coming to investigate this vent, but he's not cleared this entire room yet, so he's not going to progress. And he's just going to go and check the rest of the room alongside his buddy. And once they've then cleared it, they'll then progress. But again, here would be, you'd hear them talking to each other. I've not found him yet. Where is he? And again, we've got vents in here.
He's checking another vent there.
Yeah, so we also have other usables. So it might be, there's something you can hide in, or they're going through systemically, checking the usables, checking the cover points. And you can see there's only a few balls left now. The ones at the bottom right, and then the ones at the back that he's...
Simon, I like refrigerating more than reinvigorating.
One of these enemies will then go, okay, we've checked everything in here. I'm now going to progress to the next space.
Starfarer and being named Nooks and Crannies is a very good call.
Here, I think they're going to go this way.
So you come back, there's only one set of ones left. Just going to check it. Just going to come through here. Cleared those. So now
you should probably move, dude.
And
fire away!
And what you're seeing here with the bar,
that's how I react.
It's something that we added for the perception.
So these are AI improvements. Obviously, we don't really come across this kind of stuff in Star Citizen just yet because we don't have missions that are in-depth enough for stealth sections, but this is showing some of the AI logic, how they can communicate between each other and work together to find enemies.
Yep.
And this will be something that we see about firefights.
The real deal.
Oh no, this is more searching stuff.
So here's in Asiado in the decommissioned area. You can see the 2 AI in the distance catch you. And then this is kind of just a representation of it doing the same thing in a real environment. But obviously we wanted to show you the kind of the thing behind the curtain. What are they actually doing? They're checking cover points. They're checking the usables that are there.
Keep in mind, this is Squadron 42 AI. This isn't Star Citizen that they're showing. This is not going to run like this in Star Citizen because, like you said, server meshing servers are terrible. This is mainly meant for what we're expecting for Squadron 42. And that's why people are feeling a little bit more like Squadron 42 is getting to a point where they're getting AI and everything up to a level that it can actually be a playable experience.
So a lot of the cases when we actually captured this video, if we actually failed because they pincered the player and they actually found you before we were able to show you, what was happening. So it's really good to see how this transition from social into combat so that you can actually play through the game.
Better check that out.
So here he's checking a usable which we've set up where he's just kind of like looking and checking, okay, is there anything there? Nothing there. And again, he's sharing that information with his buddy. So if you've got two
Spore was ahead of its time.
AI that are searching,
that poor game.
Obviously they're sharing and talking to each other and letting them know that nobody's found you.
Like you may not be able to see them, but you're going to know they're out there looking for you. And if you stay in the same place for too long, they will find you.
Yeah, so you can see the one in the background is actually looking over one of the vents, one of the railings, should I say, and then I think the Ross, who captured all these videos, I think he takes a bit of revenge.
And again, not scripted. It's systemic. They understand all the hiding places. This is their station. They understand the hiding places. They understand where to look, and they just go through.
Yeah, so you can drop these enemies in any environment, and they will play out like this. But obviously, the choices that they make at runtime will be different. And this is where we have to make sure that the AI that we're working on, even though we're working on it in Squadron, it has to work for the entirety of Star Citizen in all the different environments, all the different scenarios that you're put in. So it's a major improvement.
They stopped it right before you get killed.
But let's look at some of the combat tactics now. So let's do combat tactics.
So this is likely something that we will start seeing in Star Citizen a little bit more, because I do think that we kind of get this a little bit.
So we've just turned God
basically
mode on.
Archetypes for AI. Whenever they do work, at least, you do kind of notice that some of the AI are a little bit, I don't want to say better than others, but...
So you can see it. And you can see the labels here. So we've got the defenders that kind of push to cover points. Then we've got the pusher who's kind of pushing towards you. And then we've got the strafer who is kind of like taking more of a wider angle. Now, there are some similarities between all the behaviors, but it depends on what happens.
It's a good point, Edit, yeah.
Whether they go to cover, a pusher, for example, can still go from cover to cover. A defender can still go to cover. So it's not like you've got these binary choices.
Indeed, this game was supposed to be released in 2014.
Throughout the behavior so that the AI provides something different, but also applies pressure to you as a player so that you're having to react to the AI. Right now, our current AI, you basically get the jump on them and you can just take them all out. But in reality, what we want is we want you to react to the AI because they're pushing you and challenging you. And we want that challenge to be fair so that you feel like you've made the mistake when you eventually, or if you do, get taken out.
I want to get some of that God mode. Yeah. And then we have one more video showing the tactics situation. Let's take a look at that.
So this is just a short version where but again, it's the same AI that have been dropped in, and they roll the dice for. They don't always become defenders or always become pushers or strafers. It can be random every time, so the combat experience is different. So you might all be pushers and they might all be defenders, but the way it works is, if one of them rolls a defender, then the weight for them to roll another defender is lower. So essentially, here you can see here that he's getting tagged a lot. Just because we want to show you the behaviours themselves rather than get taken out. So he's being a bit more aggressive than you probably would be able to.
That's going to make the eventual speed runs a lot harder because they're not just Goombas that do the same thing every time. You can't memorize the patterns.
And the other thing you might have noticed as well is that we're starting to have traversal opportunities for the AI. So they're not always just on the base nav.
They can mantle over, in fact, I'm not sure we
crouch, mantle, climb ladders.
They can jump over railings and push you, or they can climb up onto things and shoot down on you. They can use ladders. They can do all sorts of stuff. So we've
ladder AI.
A fair amount of work into AI traversal.
I think Starfield's going to do great. Honestly, I think it's going to be a great casual experience for a space game. Something that we definitely need in the market, that's for sure. We're hurting so bad for good space games in the industry. It's really nice to see a AAA studio finally taking a shot at it. I mean, no offense, BioWare. I know you guys have been taking shots at it, and we've been taking shots to try and forget. No, I'm kidding. Andromeda wasn't too bad, but for an actual space game, it did not do very much for, what, 2017, 2018 launch?
All right, well, we are just about out of time. I think we got 2 more talking points we want to cover before
All right, do we have any more footage?
Let's
yes, the Mobi-Glass is another thing that definitely needs to be done for Squadron. And the version they show us here is unique to Squadron, but I think this will be kind of what the PU starts to look like too.
simpler. Yeah, I don't know if you want to say anything more on the Moby
Well,
Glass.
I'd roll the clip that we have, and we can.
Let's roll the Moby Glass. Let's take a look.
So the first page that you'll see that's coming up right now, is kind of like the overview. So it's the overview of your player, it's the overview of your ship, and then it's.
So again, this is something that looks a lot more like it would be in a finished game as opposed to the Moby Glass we have right now.
It's like your primary objective. So and all of these widgets that we call them are kind of shortcuts to the kind of the main focus areas.
See alerts as you go to the other page.
So you can see here we've got your messages. So this is kind of like the email client, and then on the right we've got kind of like the ship chat that's coming in with general ship chat from the AI, which again it's kind of just
the double vision I think has been an obvious enough criticism. They'll remove it
rather than just you alone.
So responsive compared to the old one.
Yeah, and it's just a lot cleaner, and the information. It's something that we've tried to be consistent across the HUD and the Moby, is that we want to make sure that we're giving you clean information.
Yeah, I think this will come with 4.0.
Alerts now cleared from the messaging app because we've seen
or 4.1, whatever.
There was an alert down on our
yeah, the double vision is like you can see the text is kind of doubled up in the back of it, so there's like a slight faded version of all the objects on some of the peripheral screens and the sides here. Just a little distracting.
It's cleared. So that's the system. It's a framework. So like inside the, you'll get notifications or alerts. Oh, look, I got a new message over here. I'll click over to it. Now we're back.
And the biggest thing as well is it's like in everyday life, everybody pretty much interfaces.
When they expect to release the Moby Glass? I don't know.
Chrome,
they don't have any expected date for
search
that.
Engines, and everybody does it every day. So when we come to things like the Moby Glass, we have to have a level of familiarity that people understand. It's like, okay, this is intuitive to use, and it comes back to really the original message. That
Squadron? Yeah, we don't have a date for that either.
We want to make sure that the game that you're playing, we're removing the barrier to the entry, we're removing the complexity, so that you can enjoy the stuff that you want to enjoy, that you want to go and do. You want to go and do
so like just in here, we saw new Moby Glass, new platforming, new EVA, new mapping system, new AI. All of these are kind of things that you would think are very important for a military campaign style game. We're not seeing things like the multi-tool actions or mining or salvaging or even like the mission contract manager. It's just a lot of stuff that seems very focused on Squadron that they're also talking about for Star Citizen. So over the last 1.5 to 2 years, that's really been a hefty point of them saying they want to focus a lot more on Squadron and make sure that those sorts of things that they focus on roll over to Star Citizen. Will that happen? We still haven't really seen the fruits of that. That's what we're waiting for. So I can't tell you. I don't know when this game is coming out. I don't know what the timeline is for it. People are hoping for next year. We're hearing some good whispers and murmurs here and there. Obviously, they made some really major changes over the last 2 years. They moved a lot of their people back to the Manchester office. They moved the actor feature team, which this guy is in charge of, almost entirely over to Squadron 42 first. They've taken the game off the store. They've done a lot of things that do say they're getting into a late phase of the game's development. And at this point, I think they've gone far too long to not release it, or at least have a release date locked in. So I think they're feeling the pressure a little bit more. Honestly, I don't think Starfield changed that. I know I keep seeing that theory thrown around. They've known about Starfield for like 4 years, and maybe that is what helped speed them up, that they knew about it back then. We've known about Starfield since I think 2017 or 2016. And I don't think it's the type of game that's really going to put a huge dent into the players who want to play Squadron, just because there's such different experiences as we've gone over today. But I do think that regardless, we're in a really good place as space game fans. That's what I get from this right now. We've got Star Citizen, Starfield, Falling Frontier, Star Wars Outlaws, Homeworld 3. Gosh, what else? There's other things. Outer Worlds 2, I don't know where that is, but that's probably a ways out. Like, we've just got a lot more interest in space games coming through. So I don't really care where the games are coming from. I'm just excited to get more time in space. I hope y'all are too. I hope you enjoyed this review of the development And with that, I am all done for today. Cheers to everybody who came. Thank you so much, guys, for coming and watching this stream, checking out some of this Squadron 42 development. We'll be back to gameplay tomorrow, doing the regular things, but today I wanted to take a chance to sit down for a few hours and go over all this with you guys and try and combine the last 10 years of what we've heard about this game into a single stream. So maybe we can use this to send out to people to explain stuff. I don't know. But I'm going to send you all on a little radio. I'll send you over to HC Vertigo. Looks like he's doing some Star Citizen gameplay right now. I hope you guys had fun today. Make sure to check out the YouTube channel. I just put out a new monthly report going over the development of Star Citizen, not Squadron. It's on the main YouTube channel. It just went up a few hours ago. It's got everything that happened in May. And I also released another video a few days ago that talks about the glitches, bugs, and problems that Star Citizen runs into and why they don't fix them. So all of that is available to you. I hope you've enjoyed this show. Hope you enjoy the channel and the content. Thank you all for being here. You're all lovely people. I will see you tomorrow. Bye, folks.